Alright, it's time. Another week. ZTGD Radio. This is episode 834. For February 24th, 2025. And on the show this week, we got the Wombat.
Yes, sir.
We have Jay.
Buongiorno.
But you didn't expect that.
That's right.
He's here for a very specific reason. Here to talk about... I had a joke and I lost it. Sorry.
You lost it? It's okay.
I got distracted by looking at something and I was like, well, shit.
It's funny because it's good that they put the embargo on the fact that we're not supposed to be able to talk about the fact that we're reviewing a game. Because my feed would have been like, Monster Hunter is cool. Monster Hunter is really good. And then it would just be like 40 lines of me talking about how good Monster Hunter Wilds is and the thing. So it was good that they put that embargo on my ass.
And apparently we also have Anthony, who told me he was going to be late, but apparently
I didn't know how long I was going to be. I apologize.
2 minutes.
I figured I would overestimate. You're welcome.
Way to ruin the flow, man. Way to ruin the flow.
I didn't ruin shit.
That's true. You can't ruin a turd.
Incorrect. But
well, Anthony's here too.
Now the turd is ruined.
All right. Well, we can kick off talking about video games. There's a couple interesting things to talk about today for sure. I couldn't remember if Terrence had any embargoes that were up. So if he shows up later, he can talk about those, but I do not remember. I do know that we can say that we are playing through Split Fiction, but we can't talk about it until, I think it's March 4th?
That game actually coming out.
God, I don't know the release date. It's like, I think I saw somebody on Twitter this morning say it was like 11 days until it's out.
That's pretty damn soon then. Nice.
Yeah.
That's the new Hazelight, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you were about to ask me if it was any good, and I would be like, Anthony, I'm recording.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, as much as I don't love A Way Out for obvious reasons that I've said now a billion times, none of their games are bad.
No, I've enjoyed it enough.
Better with time, so I can only imagine.
Well, if you want to talk about it offline, I'd be more than happy to.
No, I'd actually like to wait to just read your review.
I'm not reviewing it.
I'll wait to read Terrence's review.
Yeah, we just obviously somebody has to play through it with him. So
yeah, yeah.
All right, well, we can kick it off with you, Anthony, since you're here now.
All right, give me 1 second to double check our messages because I believe something I have has an embargo coming up tomorrow. I just want to make sure what time it is.
Just so you know, we're not posting the show until after 10 a.m. because of the Monster Hunter.
Yeah, this one doesn't have a time frame, so I'm assuming we're good because the embargo is the 24th.
What game is this?
This is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection. I haven't played a ton of it.
Huh.
Today is my day for sitting through and playing. Here's the thing, I've played a lot of these games before.
Uh-huh.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a weird game because unlike every other card game where you mainly see changes in meta, you don't see the game actually being formed over time. There's definitely, like, if you've played the actual Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, and I'll have to go into this in review to explain why this collection is so bizarre. Early card game was basically just who had the most powerful monster. What it is now is very different. Basically, the game became more complex, as most card games do, right? Collectible card games. Like, Pokemon now is very different beast than early Pokemon, because the sheer number of cards, too. But there's different metas that have gone on over the years. Obviously, cards get banned and stuff like that. Magic had the same thing. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very weird because the original manga, which is a very different beast than the show that everybody knows and kind of what Yu-Gi-Oh! Only became, had one chapter where Yugi and Kaiba duel with cards that are clearly supposed to be magic cards, but are not magic cards that are legally distinct. And that became a collectible card game through I believe, the Cardass system, which sort of had play mechanics on them, but...
Wait a minute, did you just call it the card ass
Card
system?
ass?
Yeah, it's called Cardass. Cardass.
We got some of that card ass
Japanese,
shit.
man. There was Pokemon
card ass.
cards that came through that system, and it's the you've definitely seen the machines where you put in money and it gives you like a sticker.
Sure.
That's the type of vending machine
Oh, yeah.
that would deliver these cards.
So on that topic, and I don't want to derail your stuff here, Anthony, but I can't think of another time I'll ever be able to bring this up. There used to be a really cool version of the it was like a baseball stars, but it was almost like a pinball looking machine.
Okay.
And you would play it almost like pinball, where you would hit the ball and it would go up ramps and stuff, and you would get singles and doubles and triples, and you get baseball cards out of it.
I remember that.
Which was why it was super cool.
Holy shit.
I love that thing. They had one at the bowling alley that my dad used to bowl at, and I used to throw a whole bunch of quarters into that fucking thing.
So like, just while we're on the subject of weird things, that's still a thing in Japan. Like they had like a Kamen Rider one, because one of the Kamen Riders used cards as his power-up ability, so you would actually get cards and then you'd put them into the machine to battle others. They sort of parody that with the bug game in one of the Yakuza games. You can collect the bug cards that fight. That's the same concept. Anyways, so Konami would end up picking up the card game for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was kind of a mess in terms of like development, because it had to be its own thing, but it was like clearly based off of like a Magic the Gathering, like what's the word I'm looking for? Parallel, right? We can't use the actual IP, so I'll just make a game that's sort of like that. But the rules aren't set in stone. Like, you're barely seeing, like, they're not going over the rules in the manga. It was something that had to be extrapolated from, like, you know, a chapter. Like, it was maybe 2 chapters in a manga where that circled around this card game early on. And so then the card game became popular, and then the TV show and the manga would then focus on that.
Holy shit, they put 14 games into this collection? Wow.
So that's where this gets interesting. So the first Yu-Gi-Oh game is actually, most of these, half of these have not been translated before. The Game Boy Advance games were translated into English, and then one of the Game Boy Color games was. There's one game that is untranslated on this because the English version was released in Japan as well, and it's like an expanded version upon it. Only one of the games has multiplayer, which is kind of weird. I would recommend playing with cheats in these games, because what's neat about this collection is it shows you how they try to figure out what Yu-Gi-Oh! The game sort of is. Now, part of it probably comes from the fact that the game is very complex, and programming a game to have take into account all the aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was too difficult at the time, although they maintained that into the Game Boy Advance era. So, in the card game, it is literally like, who has the stronger attack wins. But then there's obviously a bunch of cards you can play, like trap cards that activate and all this stuff. In the games, they started doing a thing early on, I think the second Yu-Gi-Oh! Game introduces it, where it's, hey, that's true, except that, like, the element that the card is in the top corner, so, like, dark, light, you know, there's a hierarchy in that, right? Is the rock, paper, scissors sort of hierarchy that loops on itself. Doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, either, the way things work. But no matter what, that so like if I play a light card and it has a lower attack than the dark card, it still might win because it's a light card against a dark card. It's stupid things like that. That is never how the card game was actually played. But because like it's a Game Boy game, right? It's like they changed things, and so you can sort of see how this other card game came into play that was never played with the actual card system. And eventually it comes back around and becomes the actual Yu-Gi-Oh game that we know. This is a bizarre collection because, again, it makes no goddamn sense. There's actually 2 games in here that are not related to the card game. One of them is Dungeon Dice Monsters, which was another game from the manga that never actually took off in real life, even though they did make real parts of it. And one of them is like a D&D sort of game that they played in the manga as well. And those are neat to have because the D&D sort of one was never translated to English. This is actually Digital Eclipse. And it's not their best product by any means. There's not a ton of extras, which is disappointing because I would love to know why the game was changed in the way it was. Because again, the audience for the Yu-Gi-Oh games were people probably playing the card game or watching the show, and neither the show or the card game played like the games that they were selling. And they were also notoriously difficult and grindy. And something that they have done in this collection is allow you to just be like, yeah, I have all the cards. Yeah, I don't have a deck limiter. Because that was the other thing, too. You could buy cards, you could earn enough to buy the cards, but then you might not be able to put them in your deck because your deck rating wasn't high enough. So you'd have to earn enough, like, points in your deck to be able to use certain cards. Summoning, so here was the whole early meta of Yu-Gi-Oh! Blue Eyes White Dragon wins 90% of the time, but it required 2 cards to summon. So you had to have 2 other monster cards on the field. You would have to sacrifice them so you could summon Blue Eyes White Dragon, which had a 3,000 attack, 250 defense, or 2,500 defense. So it was notoriously powerful. You can just play that card in some of these because like the whole idea of sacrificing monsters doesn't really work. The English Dark Duel Stories, which had a different name in Japan because there was another Dark Duel Stories. That's not confusing at all in Japan. It has a weird card creator where you can take like 2 parts of cards and create your own monster cards. The way summoning works, or because there were summon monsters, fusion monsters, I should say, and ritual monsters. That doesn't work the same way as the card game. Like fusion monsters, it's just like, yeah, you got a dragon, you got a lightning monster, you can just make them, boom, you have a lightning dragon.
Are there little monsters?
Types of cards, because originally, Terrence, when you listen to this, just note that I saw your message. I'm not saying that. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Threw me off my fucking flow, you asshole. You're not even here and causing problems.
Well, Anthony, yeah, all that sounds good and well, but can you tell me what Pot of Greed does?
Oh, God. Yeah, just draw 2 cards.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
2 cards.
Can you remind me like 2 minutes from now as well? I keep forgetting what it does. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a meme, everybody that doesn't know about
Dude, you might as well be speaking another language right now.
I watched, my only interaction with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that I've watched the entire Breach series, and that's it. I've never watched an actual episode of the full anime. I've never played any of the games or anything like that, but I've watched every single episode of the Breach series that has come out thus far. It's like 60 plus.
Here's my weird tangent on what I recommend from Yu-Gi-Oh! I do recommend reading the early chapters of the manga. It is for what became like a kid's property, the manga is extremely dark. I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I will repeat myself. it is basically the Punisher. It's the Punisher meets Saw, but with like supernatural elements.
With children's card games, right?
Well, so what he does is he plays games with people, but the rules of the game he plays with all of the victims is different, and it's always bad people. So he puts together this necklace thing that's from Egypt. That's a puzzle, and when he puts it together, it allows the spirit of the pharaoh, who was, I think, originally not a good guy, although that changed over the course of the manga. And he became like this vigilante hero. That would, the people that were bad, he would punish them but he would play a game with them first. And if they played honestly and fair, they could have walked away. But because he knows the nature of the person, the tendencies to be a bad person is ultimately usually what brings their downfall. They actually turned that into a TV show, but it was only in Japan. And they call that Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0, I guess, in English nowadays. That is worth watching because, again, it has nothing to do... The card game comes up, but it's a totally different beast than that. Because when it came to the English anime, or the anime that would become the English anime, I should say, that is strictly about the card game, which eventually was what the manga became about, which is what the spin-offs became about. I recommend watching the Season 0 and reading the early manga chapters. Those are fantastic. When it comes to games, there was a couple of DS games that came out. Nightmare Troubadour was the first one that sort of started following the way the actual game was played. However, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game on Switch, which I have to fucking remind myself the name of because... it's not necessarily the easiest thing to... Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution is what I'd recommend if you actually want to play the card game. Because what that does is it takes you through all the meta that the game had went through, using the anime battles as the sort of structure. So there are some things that have changed over the years that is active throughout, but if you go through the early Yu-Gi-Oh! Chapter, you're using cards that are generally of the time, and it slowly brings you up to speed on what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like now. The early days collection, which again I think is fantastic, is more of a weird novelty to see a completely obscure card game that just never existed in real life. It only existed in the games, but it used all the cards that were actually around. I don't know if all the cards in the games are accurate, because I think some of them are just game only. But you do see like Dark Magician and like these cards you would never use because they were fucking dog water in the first place. It is a fascinating collection. I just wish there was a little bit more in terms of like historical element, but I mean, Digital Eclipse went through, translated all the manuals into like multiple different languages. These are the first time the ROMs have ever been translated in English at all in some cases. And the fact that it allows you to cheat, essentially, and to make the games actually fun, because the grind was never the fun part, because the structure of the early ones were, here's 5 people you can duel against. You have to duel and win against these people 5 times each. Wow, what padding. So yeah, that I was really impressed with how good this collection is for the very, very short time I've spent with it so far. I'm going to give an hour to each game today and write my review because it is a fascinating thing to go through.
Wait.
Wow, these games I've never played.
Did you just say you're going to give an hour to... You're going to spend 14 hours with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection today?
Yeah.
14 hours straight of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, I can do... Well, so it's actually 13, because one of those is in Japanese, and and I'm just not going to be able to play it, because it is not translated, because there is an English version that was eventually released in Japan, like the updated version of that game.
Well, based on your description, it sounds like it's a cool thing to have as a novelty, more so than it is actually fun to play. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's a little bit more interactive in terms of
Okay.
the way to play it. It, and I'm not trying to. I'm not saying it's equivalent because the part that I think is great about the Atari collection is missing here, which is having those developers talk. And I obviously understand that there's a language barrier because these games were all made in Japan. But I wish there was some attempt to dig up as to why things were changed. Like, was it programming? I could totally see that because this game was fairly complex and there was no Magic the Gathering game on Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Color game that does exist for one of the main three trading card games was Pokemon. Pokemon was
Pokemon.
fairly simple. So I wish we had reasons as to why changes were made to this. But in the same way that Atari 50 is interesting, I find this interesting. Obviously, I am a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is fascinating on a level of, like, why does this almost even exist? But, like, are all the games in the Atari collection fun? No. But if you look at this as a historical value, and especially as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, like, this is something that you'll never see again. Why would they make a card game based off, or a video game trading card game based off a real trading card game that plays nothing like the trading card game? Right? It just doesn't make sense. You don't see that anymore because there's no reason why you would, like, you wouldn't see I'm surprised that the Pocket TCG, which I don't talk about, but I do play, from Pokemon, lacks resistance. But ultimately, it's pretty much the same game, just streamlined as the trading card game. The only thing that you don't have that's different is the resistance and not having energy cards in the deck, just to speed up the process. Most of it plays and uses the same rule set. The early Yu-Gi-Oh games don't. And good luck finding someone that wants to play with the early video game rules with real cards. It's just not going to happen. It didn't happen back then either. And when it comes to the Game Boy Color games, the only game that we got was the fourth game. Sorry, I think the first one was a Game Boy game. But anyways, was Dark Duel Stories. That was the only Game Boy Color game, and it plays nothing like the fucking actual trading card game. So people are like, what? And bought it for the promo cards more than anything. Because all the Yu-Gi-Oh games used to come with promo cards. So yeah, it's just, I wouldn't say it's the best gaming experience. I don't think anyone would tell you that and I wish it was in this collection, because it belongs here, but the PS1 game that I can never remember the name of, I even think Duelist of the Roses for PS2 used a weird rule set, but that game was weird because it was a weird story in it. I wish those were here as well. But obviously this is a collection of Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy games, and not PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. But I do wish those were here as well, because obviously those are part of the story of working its way up to actually playing like the fucking card game. So yeah, I do think it's not going to be for everyone, because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! In the first place, probably the third tier trading card game. I will say this is the only thing that's kind of like, wow, they were ahead of the curve there. And it's probably for limitation reasons. The early Game Boy games for Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually set a limit on cards that you could have in your deck. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game did not say that there was a limit to deck size. And that was a rule that ended up being established, and there's a photo online, and it's one of the funniest things. It took two guys to carry it. They brought in the biggest fuck-off deck. Because yes, there was still a if you drew your last card, you lost rule. So they brought in the biggest deck, and to shuffle it was a goddamn nightmare. And that's when the organizer said, we need to have a rule. And then Konami made a rule about deck size.
It's funny to me, knowing a little bit about like card games, the idea that they would create on the onset no rules in regards to deck size is insane to me. Because that's such an obvious rule to make as one of the 101 things you got to do for like a card game.
It's weird because it's like, and I think part of it came from the fact that like Wizards of the Coast already had Magic when they made Pokemon, because I think everybody forgets Wizards of the Coast made the Pokemon trading card game. You don't see the evolution of card games like you do with Yu-Gi-Oh. Like the early cards did, like, you know, the ones the fodder that you could put out did like 250 attack. They were useless, and they became useless very quickly because it was made to like follow a manga, but the manga didn't fucking have like an actual set of rules down. So it was just things that they did because they felt arbitrary to do. But then they're not good for the card game. And I feel like this is the sort of the same equivalent, but on the video game side of it, where you get to see like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, okay. And then they establish kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing with the video games, and then eventually they just drop it. And it's like, now it plays more like the actual card game. And some of these RPGs, where you actually have to move around a map and challenge people and stuff, the Game Boy games, not the Game Boy Advance games, not the Game Boy Color games, but yeah, just a very weird collection to have and play, and I've enjoyed the very little time that I've spent with it, but it's just... I've been focusing on another review game that's been a little bit easier to pick up and play. Because that is one thing I will say about this. Not easy to pick up and play. It's very slow. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Was never quick, so that's saying something. As for other games, I went back because obviously there was an announcement for a new Sonic Racing game. I played Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, the first one. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how that series has gone. That game's okay. Transformed is a masterpiece. Team Sonic Racing was okay. I'm really hoping they hit it out of the park with the next racing game.
Yeah, seems like it can be anything. Like it could be like incredibly amazing, like Transformed, like you said, or it could just be like middling or kind of bad, like some of the other games have been. So it feels like I don't know where they're gonna end up.
It can't be as boring as Team Sonic Racing was. Like, Team Sonic Racing was boring. Not bad. And like, a fine game to play, especially if you were on platforms that didn't have a kart racer at the time. Like, it's a higher end one of those. It's Sumo Digital. They don't do terrible work, but it was just like, wow, what a step back from Racing Transformed. Only Sonic characters. The team aspect was neat, but like, if you're racing out in front, you're winning anyways, so it wasn't a challenging game. I turned my brain off for a lot of that review, where it's just like, yeah, this is fine. It's a fine game. It was sold for less money when it came out too. It was like $40 or something like that, but felt like it was a discount game. And then yeah, the other thing I've been playing I can't really talk about yet. Don't get excited. I'm enjoying that thing just for future reference, but don't get excited. It's not one of the big releases. I loaded up High on Life just to see what it looked like on PC. I'll say it. I'm not playing through that whole game again. I just wanted to see what it would have looked like if I had like an Xbox Series X.
Good.
I knew Ryan was going to be there. I love the music still, because Tobacco's great, but
I just dropped something in the Discord, Anthony. Have you heard of, so on the topic of Yu-Gi-Oh! Have you heard of a game called DMVR?
I just dropped something in the toilet, and
No.
it's High on Life.
No, have you heard of DMVR, Duel Monsters VR?
No, I have not.
This is a game that my son and his friends were pretty into for a while. I don't really know that they play it anymore, but it's basically Yu-Gi-Oh! In VR.
Yep.
Where you've got the little arm thing, and you play cards against each other and the monsters and all that stuff.
So that was a thing. That's the reason why like Nightmare Troubadour stands out to me in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, because it sort of did this, but on the DS. So the bottom screen was where you would actually move your cards around and stuff. And the top screen showed you all the monsters. Some of them, they were all just sprites, of course, floating above the card. But when you summon specific ones, they would do a big 3D animation. The newest one, Link Evolution, there, on like Switch and PC and Xbox and all that stuff. When you summon certain cards, they give you like a 3D animation, but they don't have the monsters floating over.
Gotcha.
They even removed that from later DS games, but I always appreciated that a little bit, but it did slow down the game, so they removed that to speed up the actual processing. But the game is too complex to have all this shit going around sometimes. So like even all the cards there that I'm looking at one of the screenshots on the link you sent. Like all those monsters are fairly early on where it wasn't super complex. Now obviously they may have more complex cards from future sets, but like Red Eyes Black Dragon was an early card. I can't make out everybody, but I recognize the shapes of them. Polymerization is an early card. Now you wouldn't even use that to fuse two monsters together.
Like I said, that game was basically my son's entry into Yu-Gi-Oh! He had no idea about it, and then got into it after playing that game. Way to
do it. I do recommend. Look again. I'm for Yu-Gi-Oh fans. Early Days Collection is great. For anyone that would want to try Yu-Gi-Oh, Link Evolution goes on sale all the time, and that is the easiest way to understand that actual card game. And then more Deep Rock Galactic for me. I loaded up Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. I was gonna say, like, I didn't play a ton of Crisis Core on PSP, mainly because it was PSP.
Yeah.
And I actually got that game late, and I kind of ended up not playing PSP much later than that. But I was like, oh, I don't remember Zach sounding like this.
Respect what you're doing, Ken.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
What?
Since it wasn't being acknowledged, so I felt like it needed to be acknowledged. The Ken was doing the PSP whisper behind you every time you said PSP.
Oh, I couldn't hear it. My apologies, Ken.
PSP.
Yeah. The new Zach voice sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog.
I don't remember who does his voice, but it is somebody that you've heard before. Yeah.
That's what it.
It's not the same voice actor from
the PSP game. I thought his voice was a little deeper.
No, I mean from Remake and Rebirth. Is it the same?
Oh,
I don't know.
It is for the remake of Crisis Core.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't like the new voice actor, apparently. I didn't mind it. It was just very weird because I don't put Sonic the Hedgehog ass voice on that character.
I need a chili dog.
Yeah. What? Past cool.
I'm sorry, but Ben Schwartz is Sonic to me now. I can't.
Ben Schwartz is a great Sonic. I obviously there hasn't. I don't love. Oh God, what's Malcolm Jamal Warner, right?
No, Jaleel White.
Jaleel White. Sorry, I don't
love
Malcolm Jamal Warner was from the Cosby Show.
Okay, my apologies to both of those actors. One for implying that he was Sonic the Hedgehog, and the other one for realizing that he wasn't.
I know that both Jaleel White and Malcolm Jamal Warner are listeners, so I'm sure they appreciate that apology.
I've never liked Jaleel White's Sonic voice. That's obviously not Jaleel White. Jaleel White.
He had a stroke.
He did a great job as I liked him more as the Sonic Underground voice, which I realized he was Sonic and Manic and Sonya. He did all the siblings, but I just never liked him as the original Sonic voice. But honestly, we haven't had a bad Sonic actor. The one that did the Netflix show, from the very little I've heard, because I don't have Netflix, so I haven't watched it. Sonic Prime. Every clip I've seen of him, he does a great job. Ben Schwartz is fantastic. thank God that model is in the fucking nightmare still. But yeah, like I'm looking up the actor. His name's Caleb Pierce. And I don't know, like if you need another Sonic the Hedgehog voice, he might be your guy because he's the one that voices Zack Fair. And fucking all I could think of was, yeah, this is Sonic the Hedgehog riding a train with a big ass sword.
Way past cool.
I'm gonna take down Shinra. Yeah. So I played the tutorial for that and was like, yep, this is much prettier.
Get the slot
I'll keep
machine
playing
going.
that before I'll play that before I play the Final Fantasy VII remakes. And then that was basically it for me.
All right. Move on to Jay.
Your half hour of Yu-Gi-Oh is over.
I got one nap for a card game. Now I get a second nap.
Well, Ken, since you are of poor taste, I suppose you can take your
no
power
taste
nap.
whatsoever.
I'm not the only one taking a nap.
Ken's
Yep.
Ken's had COVID for the last 25
Ken.
years because he has no taste.
That's right. That's
Ken
right.
and
They
I will
don't know.
be in our separate quarters taking a nap. Come and wake us both up after you know.
I'm an old man. I take a midday nap.
Well, I'm interested.
Well, there you go. See, Ryan, you, my friend, are a gentleman of taste. And we are here to discuss one of the biggest releases of this year and my current favorite for Game of the Year, Monster Hunter Wilds. And man, oh man, oh man. I mean, I played the beta. Ryan, you played the beta. Like, going into the beta by yourself so far, like, what has been your experience with the game?
Can I just cut in for a split second just to ask the major question that I want to know?
Of course.
Is what's does this play like Monster Hunter or Monster Hunter World or whatever it was called?
This one
sort of bigger open world sort of Monster Hunter.
This one plays closer to Monster Hunter World, but they did make a bunch of refinements to make the combat more precise and focused. So you have a lot more control.
I'm about the world setup because every time Monster Hunter comes out, there's two types. There's the more traditional mission-based sort of, here's a very small area, and then there's the...
they've gotten away from that. Whether you were on World or Rise, like, you don't have those small areas you transition into low scale.
The ones that were
that's kind of been the new standard.
The ones that were literally just numbered. I remember those.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Like the 3DS, like the PSP versions of the Monster Hunter game.
The Switch had some of them too, right? The Switch had like some of those.
Like the generation games, but those were kind of like the Tri version.
And all that.
Yeah. From like the Wii version. So technology has come far enough that they
all
don't
right. So if this game goes
on
on sale, I might give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
After the success in the West of World and Rise, I can't imagine they're ever going to go back to making games like those older Monster Hunter games. If
Absolutely.
nothing else, because like you said, the technology exists to make them
we can't
much
rebuild
better.
it.
I mean, Rise was a portable game at the end of the day.
It was.
It was on the Switch, obviously initially, but so even for portable entries in the franchise, I can't imagine they're going back to the old style of Monster Hunter ever.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there are some fans, kind of like the way that there's a lot of Resident Evil fans that want the pre-rendered background, the fixed cameras and stuff like that, because that has a certain timeless charm to it, right? And I feel the same way about the earlier Monster Hunter games, just the humorous side of getting knocked out by a monster to the other side of the zone while you're kind of in timeout. You have to heal up and you go back in. It's like, put me back in, coach. Just walking back into the zone only to get knocked out again back to this other zone because you couldn't see what the monster was about to do in the first place. So those kind of moments are, I think, precious in a lot of ways in the history of Monster Hunter. And I wouldn't mind, to be honest, if they did a spin-off game and they brought that old element of the world building back. But as Ryan said, World was huge. It's the best-selling game Capcom has ever made. And Capcom has been around the game industry forever. So you can tell that they're going to go with what's successful. And this is the formula that's going to be here to stay.
Nobody appreciated Tailspin the way they should have.
Tailspin.
You remember the Capcom Tailspin?
Oh. Yeah.
He's making a reference to a fucking
I
old
completely
game.
understood what... Yes, I do remember Tailspin, the video game. What I didn't understand is why Tailspin, the video game, got a reference in this conversation. But
Baloo the bear.
I think I get it.
Right. But going back to the question that I posed to Ryan, like, what has been your experience with the open beta so far?
So I have greatly enjoyed the open beta. I thought I really love the movement with the secret. Is that what they're called? Is that how it's pronounced?
I believe they call them sacred.
Sacred. So the movement with those is awesome. It's like the Palamute from Rise, right? Where you can there's satisfaction, I think, in, hey, this monster's getting away, let me call my mount, chase it down, and then jump off and attack it while it's trying to run away. But with the added sort of glide feature that the Sacred has, I really enjoyed the locomotion in this one. And then I also really loved the fact that I felt, obviously the longsword, I feel like is the longsword, right? It plays pretty similar to the way it's always played, but the bow is dramatically enhanced in this one. So I had a lot of fun with that, and the fact that you can carry two primary weapons is a really big deal, I think. So I came away from the beta super excited for the full release.
Yeah. I think everything that you've talked about is absolutely true in terms of what they feature in the game. I would say the Sacred is kind of like the evolution of the Palamute from Rise. I think when I was reviewing Rise, I gave a lot of prop to the Palamute because what it kind of serves as a purpose is because the areas of these games are becoming larger and larger, the thought that you kind of have to run across these large areas are just not feasible in terms of pacing of the game. And also the fact that you can do things like sharpen your weapon, right? Or have the thing like automatically track the monster like along the way is very, very, very good. And in this time around, you also have the benefit of the clutch and the slingshot ability, right? So as you're on the Sacred and you're kind of going through, the motions of where the monster is supposed to be, it like auto tracks and basically just drives you there. You can be looking around the environment for things to pick up. You just press L2 and then you just press circle and boom. Even if it's really far away in the distance, if you can see it, you can just grab the item as you're kind of going along and just kind of like really not have to stop at any point in order to grab the items and stuff like that you might find useful in your hunting or crafting and stuff like that on the way to go. There are certain things you do need to stop for, things like bone pile and like minerals, but things like herbs and other little like bugs and other things that are important to your hunts, those you can just kind of grab on the way back. So that's also like super nice. And the fact that the Sacred does a really good job of tracking the monsters, where they are, and you can open up the map. You can just press like R3 on like a location, and then boom, you'll mark it, and the Sacred will basically start sprinting directly towards it through like whatever terrain in the quickest way possible. So you got your own like GPS machine and going. And for me, as someone that hates like the traversal element when it's not fun, like games like Spider-Man does a really great job of making traversal fun and kind of one of the points of the matter. But for me, when I'm playing Monster Hunter, like getting to one place or the next is not really the focal point that I'm there for. It's for hunting monsters, and the Sacred kind of gives you another way to get to the action without any fuss or any kind of confusion. Because in the previous games, you oftentimes start a hunt and you have no idea where the monster is, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, World, you can start a hunt and you could take like 5-6 minutes before you finally find and encounter the monster that you're looking for. And that's not a particularly great experience. But now, you zone into the mission, you start the investigation. The Sacred already has the scent of the monster and will go straight towards it right away, So you can kind of use that as a method. And, like you said, the dual weapons means a lot because when you're playing Wild, you're going to start getting investigations and missions where you have to hunt down multiple monsters. So, for example, if you're using elemental weapons, a weapon that is strong against something that is like water-based, and something that is like fire-based, those are going to be different elemental weaknesses. So previously, you'd have to go back to camp, you'd have to go into your equipment box, you'd have to go load up on your other, take another primary, and then go out after you slay the first monster. Now you just get on your Sacred, just pull out your secondary weapon, and then boom, you're good to go.
Yeah,
alternatively,
huge, I think.
Yeah, this is very huge. Alternatively, if you actually want to fight certain monsters because you feel that certain weapons are better against certain monsters, then you can actually have that as a secondary. So one of the things that I would do is that I would have my Insect Glaive as my primary, which I would use with like a neutral element that can be used against all monsters. And then my secondary would be my Light Bowgun, which I would use against monsters that would like to fly around a lot, or that either have like huge hitboxes, where my piercing ammo could do like maximum amounts of damage. So switching between the two, just in mid combat, whenever the situation allowed, this opens up a whole new possibility for a strategy, and the idea that you kind of like half of the hunt is in the preparation of it, right? The tools that you bring, the weapon that you choose, and everything like that will make a hunt that could take 10 minutes last 5 minutes instead. If you, kind of think about what you want to do and how you want to approach the hunt. So those kind of elements of strategy really make the hunts much more satisfying than ever before. And one of the things that, like Ryan, you mentioned the things about like how some of the weapons have been improved, like the bow and stuff like that. That is thanks to the focus mode, which is kind of the new gimmick for Wilds. So every Monster Hunter game usually introduces some kind of gimmick or another. World introduced the Slinger and the Clutch Claw. Which they kept the Slinger, but not the Clutch Claw because that was the superior of the two. Rise introduced the wire bugs, which was great. But at the same time, they kind of made the game a little bit more arcadey because you're kind of just slamming special moves over and over and over again all the time just for the DPS of it. And that's fun, very arcadey, but it kind of lost some of the luster in terms of like the precise movement and taking like the time for the attacks that have like specific animation, and took away some of the heft of the weapons. When you're swinging around a giant hammer and then you're just kind of doing hit after hit after hit so quickly, it kind of loses the fantasy appeal of wielding a giant fuck you hammer that you're slamming into a giant monster's head. So the focus mode is kind of a balance between that, where when you go into focus mode just by either toggling or holding down a button, you go into this mode where you have a reticle where you can aim at specific locations of the monster and where you're attacking. And it also gives you a whole slew of new options in terms of like what your offensive capabilities are. So a bunch of new moves and everything that really expands on the weapons. And as you attack the same place on same body part of a monster, you open up these things called wounds. And the wounds will allow you to do increased damage in that spot for a time, or you can pop it using a focus strike, which will make the wound disappear, but give you some kind of buff and a nice chunk of damage at the same time. So you have this situation where in World, before you have to use the Clutch Claw, you have to like go on the enemy, you have to do like a move to open up the wound so that you're doing maximum damage on the part, and it kind of really ruined the flow of the battle because it's something that you had to do in your rotation in order to do maximum damage. But now, just doing damage, being precise, rewards you. So there is no issue in terms of like the timing and everything. So everything just kind of moves forward and flows. Everything that you're doing just kind of contributes to everything that you want to do at the end of the day. So everything just flows so beautifully. I think this is definitely the best the combat has ever been in terms of Monster Hunter. And while it doesn't have as some of the flashiest moves like the Rise does, I think it more than compensates by the level of precision and control that you have with your movement and your attacks. It's actually like every single weapon that I've tried, and I've tried about 7 of 14. I just left feeling impressed and wanting to build a whole new armor set just specifically for that weapon. So, that's what the game's all about. Like, depending on the weapon that you're using, it feels like you're playing a different game. And the fact that you have such a variety of different weapons really like leans into like how you want to, change your playstyle around, either just for the novelty's sake or just to be fresh, or because it really fits the way that you want to play the game. The other thing that I would mention is that I'm not going to obviously go into any of the story elements or anything like that, but I would say that they really took the story seriously this time around in terms of the presentation. The way the game cinematics, which are beautifully directed, seamlessly go into the combat in like one fell swoop. Like sometimes you could be in a combat, it will go into a cinematic, and then you go into combat into a cinematic combat kind of deal in certain situations, like very story focused, like very dramatic storytelling elements. And even though I finished the story mode, like a low rank campaign in about 14 hours or so, I thought that was very enjoyable. It also brings up some interesting plot elements that hasn't really been introduced in Monster Hunter games before. Because previously it was just basically an excuse to go to new places and fight bigger monsters. But while it certainly serves that purpose this time around as well, they do a better job presenting it and putting it into a context that like makes sense in the world of that universe. And I thoroughly enjoy that element. And even after the credits roll, there's the whole thing with Endgame, with high-ranking equipment, decorations, talismans, all manner of new challenging monsters to take on. And it's just, I put 83 hours into that game in like 2 weeks and change. Jeez, so, yeah, that game completely engulfed my life. And while I'm kind of taking a break from it now because I went really hard on it, but I am most definitely going back to it. I'm going to start a new save to play with my nephews, and we're going to go back into it. And then I'm going to be, more than happy to do that, despite all the hours that I've spent on it, because the game is just that much fun. So whether you're kind of like a veteran, there's going to be a lot of things to look forward to in terms of new monsters and returning monsters that are really fun to fight. And with all the improvements to the combat and the better presentation for story. And if you're new, these games are not connected to each other in terms of like storyline in some, like big way that would make you feel like you're missing out on some, grand overarching story or anything like that. So this is yet another perfect jumping in point for Monster Hunter. I think the various quality of life game, improvements make this one of the most friendly games to go into in terms of like a newcomer and stuff like that too. So yeah, Anthony, like you said, if you're interested, if it comes up on a sale at some point, I highly recommend you give it another shot. This one might be the one that clicks for you. You know what I mean?
So let me ask a couple questions, and I'll keep them general. But so with I'll use World as an example. With World, the actual story, right, was really only about half, maybe even a little less than half the game. Like the story ends what I would consider to be about the halfway point, and then you've got all the post-game content and all the post-game monsters and all that stuff. Is it a similar setup here?
Yeah. I would most definitely say so. The story's conclusion is satisfying in its own right, but it definitely does continue with the additional monsters and stuff of that nature. But in terms of like the exploration of the Forbidden Lands and stuff like that, and what they decide to do with it, they do a pretty good job in the story. But there is obviously much more to see and do in the end game, because that's what always Monster Hunter games are about.
Right. And then, so obviously no major spoilers or anything, but how did you feel about the roster of monsters? Is it a nice sort of varied, fun group of monsters to fight against, or are there, just a handful of highlights?
No. I think there wasn't a single monster I didn't enjoy fighting. I think one of the biggest complaints about World was that large Zoro Magdalos fight, which nobody likes, right? Like, I understood the scale of what they were trying to go for, but in terms of actually playing it, it just wasn't any fun. But when it comes to Wilds, I think every single monster brings like a little something unique to the table in some way. And even if there are like subspecies and variants, they do certain attacks like in a very different way, and you have to approach them slightly differently. If you if you go to fight a monster the same way that you tried to fight a subspecies, you're gonna see yourself getting annihilated sometimes because their patterns have completely changed, and they almost use your knowledge of their original variants against you with how they do the tells for some of the attacks. So so some of them actually caught me off guard because I'm so used to fighting one monster, and then I fight their new subspecies, and they do something completely different when I expected to do something that was pretty obvious. So I thought that was pretty good.
So that leads into my next question, which is with all the quality of life and combat improvements and the wound system and all that stuff, do you feel like it is just as challenging as the past games, more challenging, less challenging?
Well, I'm sure Ken will tell you that I'm not the person to talk about challenge in video games.
That's true.
So,
yeah, but you played all of them, so you should be able to. I may not compare my experience to yours, but I would compare, you comparing the Monster Hunter games to each other.
If I were to have complaints about it, I would say that especially the low rank is a bit on the easy side. And I kind of understand why, because the way the low rank works is that it's kind of a tutorial to ease people into the gameplay of Monster Hunter before things start, hitting the highlights in the high rank. And then additionally, you have high rank, which is obviously stronger monsters, but you also have temper monsters as well, which are enhanced versions of the high rank monsters, which can like two-shot you very easily, even with the maximum defenses, armors, and stuff like that. So it doesn't get harder, or it doesn't get that hard until you get to like the high rank end game stuff. But if you're looking for like a huge challenge in low rank, I think you might be a little bit disappointed because
I'm good with a moderate challenge. I don't need it to be. I just need it to be epic. I don't need it to be super hard.
Oh, yeah. You'll definitely get that.
Cool. Yeah, and I have a lot of fun. So I've probably mentioned on the show before that one of the things I liked about Phantasy Star Online back in the day was just the notion of going out hunting for stuff, hopefully finding better equipment, and then coming back. And Monster Hunter obviously scratches that itch big time.
Oh yeah.
And so just as long as it's epic, which what was in the beta was enough to sell me on the epicness of it. And even then, there weren't a ton of like crazy monsters in the beta. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. The initial little story element that they gave us in the beta is a bit of a red herring compared to what you're actually going to see in the story.
Got it.
So awesome. The quality and the quantity of monsters you're going to see in between is going to be a lot more than you expect. And it'll be fantastic. I'm loving the game, and I'm gonna be happy to dive in with a brand new save file with my nephews. But I'm also still gonna play my original save, respond to some SOS. I have certain builds that I made that would make life very easy for people, where I can just heal them up like infinitely so they never die, kind of deal, so they can just do offense the entire time, which makes it pretty fun for everyone else. And there's a lot
I
of
had
that.
a good time. I had a good time doing that in the beta too, just dropping in through the SOS system into other people's hunts and playing support a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that piece of it too. We'll have to. I have never really been a multiplayer Monster Hunter player. I generally almost always play it single player, but this one I'd like to play some multiplayer. So we'll have to, you, and Terrence at least will have to try to get some games in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than down. And if I'm using my original save, I'll use my other pieces of gear that's like level equivalent to what we're doing, so I don't kill things too quickly and stuff like that. That would be fun. And you'll see when you're starting to build your own equipment, you're gonna see all the really nice quality of life things that they do. Like previously, if you wish list a part, the game will tell you what you need, right? But you never know what monster or what quest it came from. Now, if you actually wish list a piece of equipment, if you actually hover over any mission that you have, like whether it's like an investigation or an optional mission, it'll actually tell you this monster drops the thing that you're looking for, and it's so
Oh, that's
nice.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
super
so
helpful.
nice. Yeah, because before, man, I was on the
Ooh.
forums and the websites looking up monster parts to see what drops it from like what rank and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they've actually put a lot of that into the game, which is super nice.
Nice. Well, awesome. Well, we've only got a week to go, so
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone enjoys the game when it fully launches, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys online, playing the game. But yep, that's Monster Hunter World. You guys can wake up. Can you like jab them with a stick or something like that so we can move on with the show?
Oh, man, that was a good nap.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so Wombat, are you gonna put me to sleep with golf?
I am going to put you to sleep with golf. Although I'm not going to, I won't spend. There's not as much to talk about here as there is, a game like Monster Hunter for sure. But so yeah, I've been playing for review PGA Tour 2K25. It's already out. So if you're listening to this, the game's already out.
The big
We got
boy
our
version.
copy. Yeah, we got our copy very late. The Legacy Edition is the one that's out, which I think is $120
Yeah,
or
I think
something
it's
like that.
$120. The regular version drops on Friday. So
Got it. So I, if you remember last year, I reviewed Top Spin 2K25. Or maybe it was no, I think it was 2K25, wasn't it?
yeah, it's top 10
Even though it was last
2K25.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is also 2K25, even though it comes out this year.
Sports games need to get their shit together.
Yeah, they gotta get their shit together. And this, so if you remember back then, I mentioned that I felt like it was uh, a, a purposeful step below, like NBA. Now, I don't expect all the 2K sports games to end up like NBA because NBA is the shining jewel on top of the hill in terms of the franchises that bring in money for them. So NBA gets all the, production values and all the, uh, you know, completely voice acted storylines and media interviews and all that stuff.
Spike Lee.
Yeah, although we haven't had that in a couple years, but
It's
yeah.
true.
This game is much more on the top spin level, even than like WWE, for example, because WWE gets a lot of production too. Same reason, right? They have a lot of money thrown at them. But this game is much more like Top Spin in that you've got there's a lot of stuff to do here. So I'm not saying that in terms of it's low on content. There's definitely a ton of content. But for example, the career mode. Anybody who's listened to this podcast for any length of time knows that career mode is where I spend 90% of my time with a sports game. The career mode here is like Top Spin in that it's a lot of menus. And even your press conferences look like text messages. Like the way it plays out, it almost looks like you're texting the people in the press, even though there's like a still image of your character standing behind a lectern or whatever giving a press conference. So there's no voice acting or anything like that for your character or for any of the people around you in your career mode, your agent or any of that stuff. So it all plays out via menus and text, which is fine. It takes a little bit of it away. But MLB The Show does something similar, right? Almost all of your conversations in that game play out via text as well, although you do at least have some animation happening most of the time. The game's got it's got all the stuff you would expect. It's got the career mode. It's also got quick play. It's got a pretty expansive online section where you can play in ranked tournaments or regular tournaments against other people online. It does have a course builder. I have not spent a ton of time there yet. I plan on putting some more time into that before my review. But it's it's got you can build your own 18-hole golf course. Put all the stuff that you would want to put down where you want to put it, hazards. You can design the slope and the terrain of the golf course and all that stuff. You can really build it kind of from the ground up. And then you can publish those courses, obviously, for other people to play online. I've played some user-generated courses. Some of them are pretty cool. Some of them are basically putt-putt courses, right? Where it's basically all putting. But there's some neat tools available in that course creator. I am not the type of person that's creative enough to spend a whole bunch of time in the course creator. But I do appreciate what other people are able to create. Just like with creator wrestlers or creator players in other games, I'm much more interested in what other people are able to create with the tools versus what I'm able to create myself, because I've just never been great at that kind of stuff. Career mode, it plays out the way you would expect it to. You start off, you can either so in golf there's a thing called Q School, where basically you're trying to get your tour card so you can play on the tour. You can start in the Q School tournament, where the top 5 players get a PGA Tour card and the top 40 get to play on basically the minor league PGA Tour tour. And so if you finish top 5 in that first tournament, you get to go to the tour automatically, and then you'll every week there will be usually a training opportunity where you'll have to putt through these rings and into this ring around the hole, or hit the ball through these rings and land it in the fairway, stuff like that, to earn yourself additional XP and some stat points and stuff like that. And then there's a pre-tournament practice round where you can get a feel for some of the holes on the course. Then you've got the 4 days of the tournament. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to be, playing the 4 rounds of the tournament. You can choose to play however many rounds you want. You can also customize that based on the tournament and based on the tour level. So if you say, when I'm in the minor leagues, I only want to play 2 rounds of the tournament and I only want to play 5 holes every time, it'll basically sim the other 13 holes for you. So you can say, for example, I only want to play the back 9, and it'll play the first 9 holes for you. It'll sim the first 9 holes for you, and then you can play the back 9 yourself to try to either expand your lead or catch back up, depending on how your player played during the sim. And all that simulation has adjustable difficulty. So if you want it to be, if you want your player to play really well when it's simming, you can drop the difficulty of the simulation. If you want it to play more realistic to your attributes, you can increase the difficulty of the simulation, and it'll change the way your player plays when you're not controlling it. In terms of the swinging, there's really two main ways. You can swing with the stick, and it does give you the ability to switch it between the right and the left stick. The right is the default, but if you'd prefer to swing with the left stick, you can do that too. That works exactly the way you would expect it to. You pull back to do your backswing. There's points basically on a circular gauge. There's a point at the bottom and a point at the top. Your goal is to pull the stick back straight to the point at the bottom and then straight to the point at the front. And the goal is to do it with good rhythm. And there's basically the ring expands to fill a bigger ring that determines your power. And so the goal, if I've aimed my shot, the meter is going to tell me to hit this shot, you need to be at 96% of this club. And so the goal is pull the stick back until you get to 96%, push it forward, hit the back point, hit the front point, all in a smooth motion to be able to complete your swing. It works really well. And there's what they call perfect swing mode, which basically really helps people who aren't that good keep it within the lines, right? If you have perfect swing mode turned on, you're not going to hit any, giant slices or shanks into the woods or anything like that. Most of the shots you hit, even if you're off a little bit on the backswing, are going to land relatively or fly relatively straight. You get all the things you would expect to have from a ball control standpoint. You can, by holding in the left bumper button, you can change the spin on the ball. So you can, hit high shots that spin a lot when they land, or you can create low flying shots that roll a lot. You can, all the shot selection stuff that you would expect to be is here. The equipment, there's a bunch of different clubs that you can buy in the shop for VC. You also earn clubs doing different stuff. The way your golf bag is broken down is you have a driver that you can change and customize individually. You have woods that you can change and customize individually. You have hybrid clubs, which is basically a cross between a wood and an iron that you can customize individually. And then you have your whole set of irons that gets customized at once. And you have your wedges that get customized at once. And then you have your putter that gets customized. And then you've got some custom options for the golf ball as well, including some basically some like bonuses that you can add to the golf ball to make it, less susceptible to wind or have more spin, all that stuff. So I mentioned VC. So this is a game that runs on virtual currency. Your character upgrades are all bought with virtual currency, almost all bought with virtual currency. There are some attribute points you'll get along the way that you can add that don't cost you VC, but they are very, very rare. As a matter of fact, I haven't even come across one yet. So you don't earn a ton of VC. So you're going to either grind for it or you're going to pay for it, because that's the way this game works now. That's the way all the 2K games work now, basically, is you either grind for your attribute upgrades, you pay for VC, and then upgrade from there. It doesn't feel as sort of punitive as NBA does in terms of the grind, but it's definitely going to take you a while to level up your character unless you're paying for VC, which is, the curse of modern sports gaming. It drives me insane that this is what we've moved to, where in order to level up my career player, I have to either earn or pay for virtual currency. It drives me crazy when all these games tie that shit to your career mode player, because my career mode player is the player that I'm playing single player with. And if you want to make it so that, you have to, pay for upgrades for your online character, well, I think that's shitty, but I guess I could see that a little bit more. But tying my career player to the online player, so that I have to pay for upgrades for my single player character is just complete horseshit. And I get so sick of these 2K games doing that. I don't play any of the EA games, so I don't know if they have a similar structure. Ken, I don't know if Madden has something similar.
I don't play that mode. I only play franchise, so I play basically like manager kind of thing.
Gotcha. Does EA have a currency like
EA does
currency?
card packs?
Yeah, they do cards.
Okay, well, yeah. So yeah, MLB The Show has some card packs and stuff like that too. MLB The Show technically has virtual currency, but I've never used it.
There's definitely currency in Madden, because like they've got this new battle pass in Madden this year where you can earn shit, but there's also like coins you can buy shit with. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Well, so it's funny you say that, because the next thing on my list to mention was that this game also has a battle pass. It's got 2 tiers. It's got a free tier and it's got a paid tier.
Yep.
The battle pass in this is essentially exactly like the battle pass that was in Topspin Tennis. You level up the battle pass as you do stuff in the game, And if you're on the paid tier, you get extra stuff. And it resets every season. The Legendary Edition of the game comes with, I think, the first 4 seasons of the Battle Pass. I don't remember. I'd have to look that up.
How long's the
But
season?
I don't know. I don't even know that they've said.
Like that's the funny thing is like, are you gonna play it past 4 seasons? Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No. And so, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I think this entire conversation and my eyes glazing over talking about VC and card packs is the very reason why I stopped playing sports games basically in this entirety.
Yeah,
It,
I mean,
it
you could
feels
still-
so predatory.
You could still play like the legit sports part of it, but if you want to get into like create your own customized shit, then that's where this stuff
And
comes
that's
in.
like kind of like the best parts of the game, in my opinion,
Agreed.
right? Like the
Yeah.
campaign mode and like all that stuff. I think that's where the true fun is. But and
Yeah,
the fact that
I'm the
people
same
keep
way,
paying
Jay,
for it,
so.
it just really bums me out, man.
I'm glad
I
wish they would
don't.
just stop paying.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't. Like when I play Madden, which is the only sports game I play, I literally take my team and run them through a normal season. Like that's what I do. But yeah, if any of that stuff was tied to that, I'd be pissed. So.
Yeah, and
But-
this does not have, thankfully, because it's not a team sport, doesn't have all the like bullshit Ultimate Team, Diamond Dynasty card collecting
Yeah.
bullshit in it. But it definitely has the, if you want your character to get better faster, just pay money and buy virtual currency and then spend it all on attribute upgrades.
Would it be practical, Ryan, if to like buy the game like on PC and then just cheat your way through this shit? Like
I
in
have
terms
no
of
idea.
like, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
they'll.
I
I
don't know
come
how
after
locked
you.
down any of that. Yeah, I don't know how locked down any of that stuff is. If you
Yeah.
play it offline, I don't even know if you can play it offline. If I'm honest, I'd have to check that. But they also have, by the way, a store where you can spend virtual currency on cosmetic upgrades and stuff like that, which is fine. If people want to spend real world money on cosmetic upgrades, I don't care about that at all. When I have a problem with it is when the currency that I use to buy all those cosmetic upgrades is the same currency I have to use to level my character up. That's where I have a problem. I think it's fundamentally against the concept of what a game like this is supposed to be, which is the more I play, the better I get and the better my character gets. And if I have to, grind way too much to level my character up because they want to try to sell me virtual currency instead, I think that's a massive problem. And I'm not. Anytime one of these sports games come out, we always get the highest level edition, and it always comes with additional VC. And I always play the game without that for my review, so that I can make sure that the earn rate is fair. The earn rate in this is more fair than it was in NBA, but it's still pretty low. So that's frustrating to me. And the fact that this has seeped its way into every fucking thing is just, it annoys me. And it will detract. It does detract from my experience, which means it will detract from the score when I get down to scoring the game, which is a shame because the actual golf here is really good. The way it plays is very, very good. It's the best playing golf game in a while. But it's just, I wish they would get rid of all the virtual currency shit. I should have mentioned earlier, by the way, because I mentioned the stick swinging. You can also do meter swinging if you'd rather with the 3 button presses. A button press to start the swing, a button press at the top, and a button press at the bottom. If you don't like to do swinging on the stick. So that's PGA. Not sure if anybody has any questions or anything. I don't think anybody on this podcast was eagerly anticipating the new PGA game.
No, I'm more of a hotshot / outlaw golf guy.
Right. Yeah. So I also played, which I think everybody, well, except Anthony, has played. I played Avowed this week. I've got, I think, probably 7 hours, maybe 8 hours in the game at this point. And I'm enjoying it for sure. It is basically what I expected it to be in terms of size and scope and the way it plays. I think some of the combat is really fun. I think some of the weapons I'm not as much a fan of. Like I don't really like the bow
I don't
at
know. I
all.
didn't either.
I like I do like the pistols.
The
But only
rifle, yeah, the rifle sucks, but
it sucks. Yeah,
yeah,
the pistols, if you dual wield them, are pretty good because when you fire one, while that one's reloading, you can fire the other. So you can get to a cadence where you can pretty much take one shot at it, after another. But the melee definitely feels better.
yeah.
What class did you guys go with, by the way?
You don't.
I chose the War Hero.
You don't pick.
There's
there's not a class.
Yeah.
Like you can play
I did
anything
War
you
Hero
want.
too.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, the that stuff really just changes the dialogue options that you get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what your starting equipment is. You can really use anything.
Okay.
So you're not limited to
You
that.
do have different skill trees that you can choose to upgrade
Yeah.
any of the was it 4 or 5 classes? But yeah,
Yeah, it's fighter, ranger, wizard. Can't remember what the other ones are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Godlike
you can
is
put
another
points
one.
into. Yeah, that's right. You can put points into abilities that map to each one of those. But there's nothing that says you can't be a fighter, wizard, ranger combo.
And you can respec for some coins too.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the two-handed melee.
Yeah, that's fun.
One issue I have is I've got some unique weapons, and so for folks that haven't played it yet, the game is very, very, very reliant on you upgrading your weapons all the time, and your armor too.
Mhm.
But so I did have several scenarios where I got unique weapons, which is their version of a legendary weapon, that were worse than the common weapons I already had because I had leveled the commons up so much.
Yeah.
The legendary ones obviously take more and different resources to get above a certain level. But at one point I was dual wielding a sword that catches things on fire and a dagger that catches things on fire at the same time. And so you can do some pretty cool stuff with that. In terms of, when you're fighting bears, especially, it seemed to be pretty powerful against. I'll say that let me get to some of the stuff that I don't like about it. And I know this sparked a massive conversation on the Discord, but I don't like the way a lot of the characters look. I just don't. I think a lot of them have that same sort of waxy, mushy-faced, dead behind the eyes look that the Bethesda games have. And as much as I love those games, I've never been a huge fan of their character design.
It's funny, Ryan, that you mentioned that because I felt the same thing. I think they do that because the very first character you run into is like this Ewok-looking fella with blue fur everywhere, and it looks just weird. And then the next few NPCs that you run into kind of have this, like, something off about them kind of deal, like you were just mentioning about like dead behind the eyes. And then I ran into Kai, which I thought looked like a really cool character. Like his facial, it's like some of them look cool and good, and the other ones just look like they were rejects from an Elder Scrolls game.
You could tell where the money went because Kai is a character you're going to be with for the entirety of the game.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that's called the Todd Howard stare.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is.
Behind the eyes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really move around.
You get some weird too, like, you know how in some games you can tell when the NPCs are made using the character creator?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's what you get the feeling of here, where you get some of that same sort of fat cheek look that you get from character created players sometimes. The environments look fantastic.
Yes.
Generally speaking, the game looks good. I just don't like the way a lot of the characters look.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really at this point super high on the story. Again, I'm only 8 hours in, so I'm sure it's going to go places and get better as it goes. Right now, it just I'm trying to think of a way to say this that doesn't sound insulting. It feels like um, it feels like somebody played Greedfall and was like, "Hey, we could do something like that." Like, island nation getting, sort of slowly taken over by an empire of, colonials, has weird nature-based plague happening. That's all Greedfall, right? So it's the same sort of vibe here early on. And again, I'm sure that'll change, but 8 hours in, I haven't really seen anything in the story yet that's made me sort of perk up. But I will say there's some cool, like, environmental exploration stuff here. I've enjoyed sort of going into different nooks and crannies and caves and stuff like that as I'm wandering around. I think there's always, I haven't found a situation yet where I explored some little, side cave or something that the game wasn't pushing me towards that didn't end up with something cool. So I appreciate that about the game for sure. I appreciate the fact that even though you can't upgrade weapons from your inventory, it will tell you in your inventory if they can be upgraded, which I think is great because the only way you can upgrade them is back at your camp. And so I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time going to camp if my weapons can't be upgraded yet. So the fact that it tells you in your inventory if they're eligible for an upgrade is cool. Yeah, I'm enjoying the game. I think Ken, you gave it an 8, right?
Yep.
I think that's about right about where I'd land on it too. So far, again, I'm not through it yet, but that's sort of where my head's at right now as well. It's definitely a fun game. It's got its problems, just like most games do, but I'm enjoying what I've played of it so far.
Are you still in the first area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have not moved on to the second area yet. I am. What's funny is 8 hours in because I've done so much side stuff. I just got the second companion. And I know I could have got him a lot earlier, but I was doing bounties and other side missions and stuff, and trying to find all the little Shrine of Wotica pieces. So I've been doing that stuff. Just got the second companion, so I'm moving forward with more of the main story now.
Yeah, that sequence where you get the second character is pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And I do like Kai. I think he's pretty cool so far. I haven't heard enough from the second companion yet. I'm not super huge on him so far. Hopefully he'll grow on me. It was funny because I was having a conversation at the camp with him last night, and my son came in and he was watching me for a minute, and he goes, "I don't like that guy." and I said, "Yeah, I don't really like him much either yet." So
he gets an arc in the third area, I think.
Okay.
So he kind of plays a big part of the story.
Can you pick your companions?
No, there are 4. There are 4. You can take 2 with you once you get the 4. So you can choose who you take. There are certain missions that require you to take a certain. Like there's a spot where you literally have to take that second character because it's pivotal.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a good game. I think it's definitely worth playing through. So I'm going to try and get as much of it done as I can before Monster Hunter comes out.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, Ryan, because I played about like an hour and a half yesterday, and I was actually considering kind of just dropping the game because I wasn't like really particularly drawn in or impressed by anything that I was seeing, other than the environments, which I thought was looked really pretty, especially like when you go into the water and you start like diving down. I think that was pretty cool. But like the story, the combat seems serviceable. The story hasn't really grabbed me yet, but I'll give it one more session to see if I'll stick with it.
Yeah, and I think I think that the only sort of negative I have about the combat is that, like I said, you have to make sure you're really paying attention to your upgrades because the enemies start to get pretty spongy.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right
And
now.
yeah, so there are some bounties you can do, and each of the bounties has a legendary piece of equipment associated with it. And then there's some other like side quests you can do. Like I did a really cool side quest where this isn't a spoiler, where you meet another godlike, and that side quest was really cool. And it unlocked a pretty nice piece of legendary equipment at the end of it. But the enemies can get spongy, so you got to make sure you keep your equipment up to date.
That's where I'm at because I switched over from using the spear, which I like, to a two-handed mace, right? And then I have to swing the mace until I run out of stamina twice before I kill like a fucking kobold, you know? So I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it does get a little bit better, and the enemies don't scale with you. So if you run into enemies that you can't kill, you can leave the area and come back with better weapons. They also don't respawn.
Nope.
So that it's nice in one standpoint, but on the other, it does start to make the map feel a little empty. When you've already been through an area once before and there's no enemies there now. It does start to get a little like, okay, well, I might as well just fast travel, because even if I, walk through this area, there's not going to be anything for me to fight because I already killed them all. So that, I'd say, I appreciate the fact that the enemies don't scale with you. I do think they probably should have had some respawning of the enemies.
Right.
It's not the end of the world, but it does, I think, make the map feel a little empty once you've killed the I'll say kobolds because I don't remember what they're called in the actual game, but once you've killed them in an area, you don't have to kill them again. But that's Avowed. I also played some Karate Survivor. I think that game, excuse me, is the best of all the Vampire Survivor clones. It's obviously it's not as good as the original, but it's definitely got some really neat stuff in it. So and it's like $4. So if you haven't played that and you like Vampire Survivors at all, you should definitely pick it up. You're Jackie Chan fighting thousands of guys in a grocery store or on a rooftop or whatever.
I just discovered that motherfucker released a new movie again.
Yeah, he's what, in his 70s?
Yeah, he's in his 70s. There's a new movie. I was scrolling through iTunes the other day, and there's some movie about him and a panda. It's called like Panda something.
Wow.
Like the last one he did before that was when he was playing himself as the stunt, a washed up stuntman with a horse or something like that. And now he's got a panda movie. I'm like, dude, you're like 70.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, so only 93 minutes in. Time to talk about, I guess I got to talk about video games, don't I? All right, now it's time to put other people to sleep, because that's what I do. But I'll start off with, so a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was like last week, I tried, I saw this game called Twisted Tower on PC. It's from Apogee. I really wanted to play it. It kind of looked like a BioShock kind of aesthetic, but you're in like this, I don't know, it's almost like a theme park, like a carnival with some like creepy Mickey Mouse looking dudes. And I was like, I want to play that. So I downloaded the demo, booted up, black screen, just black screen constantly, over and over and over again. I was like, well, this is awesome. This is PC gaming at its finest. But it got an update this week, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try it again, because I really want to see if I like it. So I get into it, and it actually lets me play this time. I was like, all right, this is pretty good, but it's jittery as hell. Like, it just constantly, like, fluctuating the frame rate. I was like, all right, this is bad. So, like, I start going into the options, messing around with the options. I was like, well, screw it. So I played through, like, 20, 30 minutes.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I thought I was muted.
I was like, all right, so I played like 20, 30 minutes, like, this is cool. I was like, let me see if I can fix the display. So I went in, I turned off a couple options, crash. Like, man, what the fuck? I get so frustrated with that stuff. So I like it. I will wait till it comes to a console because I felt like I spent more time fucking with it than I did playing it, and it's just not for me. I also got a preview version of Croc, which if anybody has listened to the show long enough knows that I have weird nostalgia for that game. So I got to check out...
Wait, hold on. They made video games about shoes? That's weird.
You're too young. Stop. Stop it. Go get your giblets and put your fucking Crocs on.
Listen, I just eat my chicken nuggets, all right? That's what I need.
No, I thought the silence was apt, by the way. That's the response you should have gotten for that joke.
You know the thing about it is that people don't know what the fuck Croc is from the PlayStation generation, man. Are you kidding me? They're gonna think
they made three
Croc
of
is
those
a shoe.
games. They made 3 of those games, I want you to know.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
they
more
lasted
than-
the test of time, certainly. Everyone wants a Croc
3.
remaster.
You're talking the Game Boy game?
Yeah, they made a Game Boy game.
Okay, alright.
But anyway, so I got a
Well,
chance.
they made one. I thought they made 2.
Did they
Game
make
Boy
2
games.
Game Boy games? Maybe they did. I don't.
Thought
I only remember the one. So.
Okay.
But anyway, I got to play the Croc remaster. If you don't know, the reason why people hang on to this game is because it's made by Argonaut, and it was originally a Yoshi game.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. They made They made Star Fox.
I know Star Fox, but I still don't know what that.
Argonaut,
you said?
Argonaut made Star Fox.
Argonaut, okay. Alright.
So they originally built Croc as a Yoshi game. And they pitched it to Nintendo. Nintendo turned it down. So then they went and got a publishing deal with, I believe it was Fox Interactive. And made
Argonaut
Croc.
also are the people that made the standard FPS control scheme with Alien Resurrection on PS1.
Yep.
They made the Super FX chip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Argonaut is kind of a big deal. Like, so that's why a lot of people have kind of nostalgia for Croc. It's because it actually was the closest thing that the PlayStation got to Mario 64 at the time. So, like, this remaster is from, like, a lot of the people that worked on the original are back for this, which is really cool. And they've done a lot of work to it. So now it has a fully functional 3D camera with the right analog stick. If you remember playing the original, even with the analog controls, it only kind of like panned the camera. It wasn't like full control of it. Also, if you've never played Croc, the music is outstanding. Some of my favorite video game music of all time. But it's really good. Like, I played through the first world, which has like 5 or 6 levels. It runs really good. They've got a lot of cool little filters. You can pick and choose which filters you want. So, like, you can just turn on the old textures, but it's got the new resolution, or you can put like a CRT filter over it, or you can just put the new textures only on the characters, but not the world. Like, it's very customizable. It's very nice. And it finally makes the game feel like a true 3D platformer. Because if you ever played the original, it had tank controls, and it kind of was frustrating at the time. But they've completely redone that, and they've also left in the tank controls, so if you want to play with those, not that you ever should, they are still there. So I'm really excited. I wish it was supposed to be out in December, but they pushed it back. There's also a ton of crap in there, like behind the scenes stuff. Like, there's photos, there's commercials, there's interviews, there's movies, there's videos of like concept levels. Just so much behind the scenes content packed into this thing. So can't wait for that. Hope it does well enough that they come and get to do the second game, because I think the second game kind of got lost in the fray when it came out.
Oh, wait, this is not like a collection of a bunch of games, just one?
This is a full-on remake of that. Like,
remake. Oh,
yeah, like
okay,
they
gotcha.
did a
Cool.
ton of work to this thing. It's not just
Understood.
up-resing it, throwing it out there, for sure.
Cool.
Like I said earlier, we're playing Split Fiction. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. I booted up Like a Dragon Yakuza Pirate. I only played it for like 30 minutes, so like I was hoping Terrence would be here because he's beat it, he's played through it, his review's up. Um, so I'm excited to kind of play around with that. And then, all right, now I'm gonna put Ryan to sleep because there was a massive Overwatch update, and I'm gonna talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's great because my voice is about to go out anyway.
I was gonna say you guys have been putting me
to
to sleep for 93 minutes. I can talk about Overwatch for a couple of minutes. So the new season came out, and the biggest change that they made was that they added perks. So every character has 4 perks total, but you can only equip 2 at a time. And the way that it works is think of it kind of like your ultimate meter. Over the course of the game, you'll slowly build up this level system, and when you hit a certain level, you can pick a perk. So when it kicks in, you basically just press a button and it says you get one of 2 choices. So as an example, I play a lot of Moira. So her first perk comes up and it says you can either extend your fade for like an extra few seconds, or you can make your fade jump like twice as high. So like you can jump up onto high ledges. So like that's called the minor perk. So you get that at level 1. When you hit level 2, you get a little bit more. They call these major perks. So these are kind of like game-changing perks. So for example, for Moira, hers, you get a choice between the healing orb does an instant 50 healing to the when it hits a person, when it first hits them. So like they get a burst of 50 healing. The other perk, the other one you can choose, basically makes the damage orb like Zenyatta's Discord orb, where when it hits an enemy, it automatically like brings their healing effectiveness down like 25%. So like their healers can't heal them as effectively. The way these work, so let's say you're playing like a payload map, like the perks work for the first round. You have to rebuild them. Also, if you switch characters, they start over. You don't get to keep them for that second character. So this kind of pushes against character swapping, which is actually working within the game. Like I don't see people swapping characters nearly as much once they get to a higher level with their perks. Unless you go into the third round, so like if you both score the points and you have to go into the the overtime kind of stuff, then you immediately get all 3 levels. So it like just whatever character you pick at the beginning, you just get to pick your perks to kind of make it fair at the end. The matchmaking seems to feel better. Like I haven't got on a massive like losing or winning streak. Like it feels a lot more balanced. Like last season I would go like 7 losses in a row. Not in one sitting because I usually quit after 2 or 3. I'm like, this is just too much. But I've not lost more than 3 in a row in this new season. I'm also not like winning, which I think that was really what was frustrating when I play. Is like you'll get on a 10-game losing streak and then you'll get on like an 11-game winning streak, and it's like only one of those times is fun. It also feels like the matches have been higher quality. So, like I don't know, like they overhauled the entire UI, so like your career profile looks different. There's just this patch is probably the biggest change that they've done since the game came out.
So Ken, I know you've been complaining about matchmaking for literally like a decade now. Mm-hmm. Is it fixed? Does it feel fixed? It sounds like it's been fixed.
It feels better. You got to remember, like, beginning of season can always be misleading. Like, we'll see how it feels over time. Although I can tell you my climb has been easier. Like, they did the rank reset with this. And I'm already in Masters. So, like,
gotcha.
Yeah, like, it feels like it's more balanced now. And I don't know what it is. But like the matches just feel better. And I'll tell you, Open Queue is a blast. Like,
wait, Open Queue is the one you don't have to choose a certain class or whatever, right?
That is correct. You can run anything you want.
Aren't those usually just like a clusterfuck of just nonsense most of the time? That
Those have been, I'm going to be honest with you, those have been the most fun matches and the closest matches. We're talking like down to the last play.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Most of the people that are playing in open queue understand what needs to be done, which is you have to have more than one tank, which goes back to that conversation we keep having. One tank is not enough in this game. It's just not. Like the philosophy of this game was built on multiple tanks. And it just feels like even when roll queue came around, it was 2-2-2. It wasn't 2-3-1 or 2-3-2 or 2-3, 2-2-3. It was literally 2-2-2. So you were supposed to have two of each role. And I just feel like that's where it's better. And we've got 6v6 comp coming in, so I'm excited to play that. But yeah, the game just feels so much better this season. And I got to bring up the loot boxes because they're free. You earn them. I've literally earned about $150 worth of free skins just from playing the game.
So when you, I've been meaning to ask, like when you're talking about free skin, can they be like literally any skins from the store that's ever come out, or how does that work?
It's any skin that's not in the current shop.
Oh, so for example, remember the previous season you had like the Greek gods themed ones, right?
Yeah.
So those are available in the rotation for loot boxes now?
The mythic weapons are in the boxes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, and the mythic skins as well, or just the weapons?
I don't know if the mythic skins are. I haven't seen anybody get those, but I've seen people get the mythic weapons. And the nice thing is the loot boxes tell you transparently what could be in the box. It gives you a percentage breakdown.
Okay.
And you are guaranteed a legendary item every 20 boxes.
So they have a hard pity. Okay, nice,
yeah.
nice.
And then like once you get that, it automatically resets the counter and says, okay, well in this many boxes you're guaranteed to get a... And there are legendary boxes in the battle pass, so if you pay for the premium battle pass, there are guaranteed legendary boxes in that battle pass.
Okay.
I think there's 3 or 4 legendary boxes. I've only got one so far, and I immediately got what was it? I got a skin that I really wanted. It was like $25 in the shop. So,
do you remember which one it was?
Oh man, I was trying to think. Like as soon as it popped up, I was like, "Oh shit, I wanted that skin, and I didn't get it because I'm not paying $25 for a skin."
No.
I did get 2 of the Junkrat skins that I didn't buy, the epic ones. Like I got the mobster and the aviation one in one box.
That's lucky, and I know how much you belong to Junkrat, so that actually works out.
Oh man, Junkrat's perks are crazy. His frag launcher essentially becomes hit scan.
That ain't right.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful in practice.
That ain't right, man. You can't make the fucking mine into a hit scan. Are you kidding me? That's not right.
Yeah, my perk choices on Junkrat are I can throw my trap like 50 feet in the air and launch it across the map, and then I always pick the frag launcher, which basically makes it come out 40% faster, which almost makes it a straight shot, like hit scan. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Damn. Beautiful for you, and not so much beautiful for the other people getting...
Oh.
Like, not beautiful for the Pharaoh in the air getting hit scanned by a Junkrat.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, props to the team that builds these games, because these new perks, like, they could just make the ability happen, but there are special sounds for when you have an upgraded perk. So, like, you know what Junkrat's grenade launcher sounds like. You've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Now, when you upgrade it, it goes like it's like firing out of it like a t-shirt cannon. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
All right. All that sounds pretty good, honestly, Ken. Like, I'm glad they're doing the loot boxes correct. And you said there is no way to buy loot boxes with money, right?
You cannot buy loot boxes. The only caveat to that is to get the ones that are in the battle pass, you have to buy the battle pass. Obviously.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I think that's a part of make the battle pass more valuable and more enticing. That's okay. I think battle passes in terms of like microtransactions are generally better as long as they, have a track. Can you get another battle pass, or can you get some currency towards another battle pass by finishing? How much do you get?
I don't know how many coins you get. I forget what the count is. You can't fully buy the battle pass, but I think it's like, because the battle pass is 1,000 coins, and I think you either get 600 or 800 in the battle pass. I can't remember. So I wish they would add it so that you could, like, let's say you maxed it out.
Yeah.
Because maxing out the Battle Pass is going to take 50 to 60 hours. And I think it's fair that if you played 50 or 60 hours, you should get a free Battle Pass.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. It makes people more invested in finishing it. And I suppose the only negative at this point is the fact that the Battle Pass is time limited. And once you run out of time to get the stuff within the Battle Pass, you basically wasted your money kind of deal, right?
Yes. They did ask that question at this event, and they said that they are looking into maybe allowing people to go back, but they were acting like that people wouldn't want to do that. I was like, are you crazy? Like, do you think somebody doesn't want to go back and get those mythics? Are you crazy?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, they need to get rid of the whole FOMO element of the battle passes.
Yeah.
Kind of like the way they do with like Helldivers 2. You buy battle pass, they're there forever,
Yeah.
And you put in your own points whenever you feel like. That's how it should be done. And I think if they do that, I might, with every other improvements that they have made so far in terms of all the options, the perks, and the loot boxes, I'll give Overwatch 2 another shot if they do the get rid of the FOMO on the battle pass. And it'll be another fair shot to give it to them. Because I'm past the point of being mad at them for the whole, the lying about Overwatch 2, the story mode, and all the promises that they've broken. But if the game, obviously Overwatch 1 was one of my favorite, like, multiplayer games of all time. And that gameplay still exists with an Overwatch 2. And I would not mind going back to that again at some point. So hopefully they keep going the right path like they seem to be. So nice.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yep. I'm looking forward to Stadium. To see what it is. I don't know that it'll be for me. It seems to be more for people who kind of like that customization of their game. I didn't think I was going to like perks, but I loved them, so I'm not saying I won't love Stadium, although playing Overwatch in third person is going to feel really weird.
That is going to be really weird. I don't like it when they slap on either like first-person view on a third-person game or, third-person view on a first-person game because mechanically speaking, from the engine side, it was never meant to be played that way, right? So It's always going to be wacky and like janky, so I don't know.
No, I'll try it when it comes out, and I'm excited. Like I said, 6v6 comp I'm excited for, and I'm excited for we get to play test the new hero this season, so... I don't think she will be a hero for me because she is like very accuracy based and like high movement. Like I'm not a Pharah Echo player. I just can't. My brain doesn't brain on those. So, but we'll see. I'm excited. Like for the first time, I'm not mad every time I boot up Overwatch. So that's positive.
I'm happy for your mental status because for sure we know. No matter the kind of intervention that we might try to plan, you would never stop playing Overwatch until the servers go offline. And then potentially you might join some private servers to continue playing at that point. But if you're going to be playing it, I want you to be having the best time possible with it. So that's good.
I need that 2016 Overwatch hit. And I got it like when they did Classic, but like I'm glad it's not that anymore because it is definitely broken. But like I like where they're going. I still want them to do 6v6. I feel like that eventually that tipping point's going to happen. And it's just a matter of time. Also, bring back Assault. I miss Hanamura. Just going to say that.
Hanamura's a good map. Yeah.
But anyway, that's it for me. PlayStation did send me a PS5 Pro, so I guess I got to write a review up for that, which is crazy to me. But...
I'm curious as to how you're going to approach the review. What are you going to do? Are you going to like pull out some kind of like frame meister and start doing frame counts?
No, I'm not doing frame counting. Like I've played enough of the games that like, in all honesty, the only thing I have a huge issue with that system is, well, two things. It does not have a disk drive, which for me doesn't matter, but for a lot of people it does.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that they would make that to where you have to pay for that. The second is the fucking price.
700 beans.
Without a disk drive, which it's not worth $700. It's a great system. It makes Astrobot look amazing. Stellar Blade has never looked better. $700, man.
You know when Stellar Blade is going to look better? When it
it's
releases
on PC. Sure, if you have the PC to make it look better. Sure. You can't throw it on a Dell laptop and it looks better than the PS5.
But think about it, Ken. One of the main selling points with consoles was that it was so much cheaper than a gaming PC. But at $700 without a disk drive, pushing that $800, you can make a very good PC at $800. Maybe not right now because GPU market is stupid, but in like a paper terms, you can make a computer that's going to be way more powerful than a PS5 Pro. At that price range. So
you can't.
It's scratching it.
You can't get me on the no disk drive on the PS5 Pro. When's the last time you bought a computer with a disk drive?
I actually own a USB disk drive. Thank you very much.
I do too, to be honest with you. I do too.
I have a USB Blu-ray drive.
But they're not built in anymore. They're not built in anymore. Nobody uses a disk drive in their PC, which is hilarious to me.
Everyone cares about like the airflows and stuff like that on the computers nowadays, and those kind of like plastic enclosures get in the way of that. So I get it. Aesthetics from from an aesthetic standpoint, it makes sense to not have those. But sometimes you buy a special edition copy of a game, and it comes with fucking music CDs, like it's 1999, and you wanna listen to those and see what's up. So you pull out the USB drive. No big deal.
I think I had it for when I was testing the Polymega. I needed to burn some CDs to see if it worked, and by God, it did. It has no copy protection. I was like, God damn, all right.
Yeah, actually, in terms of emulation, there's a lot of emulators that actually play the game directly from the discs themselves. Yeah, so
you can.
I was actually running GameCube games on my DVD-ROM from just on the emulator on the PC, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, you do. They have like an I/O disc loader within the background. Yeah, it works fine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, so that's all the games. That only took 2 hours. That's fine. It's crazy. Terrence wasn't even here to talk about fucking Pirate Yakuza. Crazy. All right, let's talk about what's coming out this week. Spectre Divide. I don't know what that is. Whoa. This sounds like that Anthony would know what this is. It's a game called Crime Opera Fan Disc: The Caterpillar Candids.
That's a mouthful.
I've never heard of that in my life, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's a Famicom Detective Club clone.
There are two of these. There are two. There's also Crime Opera 2: The Floodgate Effect.
Hold on, Crime. What is this for?
This one's actually on the Xbox list, which is crazy. Maybe these are indie games?
Crime Opera: The Butterfly Effect?
No, I got Crime Opera Fan Disc: The Caterpillar Candids. That's the first one. The second one is Crime Opera 2: The Floodgate Effect.
Crime Opera.
It's made by... It says it's a visual novel.
I've never heard of this series before, but there seems to be multiple entries.
Okay, so this is a series. That's a weird game.
Yeah, very, very indie. Okay.
Rabbit Raid, Crowns and Pawns, Kingdom of Deceit, Prison Loop, 2 Point Museum, the early access edition. I guess we're just doing that now. Monster Hunter Wilds and PGA Tour 2K25 out on Friday.
Wilds is gonna do numbers, man. You'll see.
Ninja 5 is out this week for PS5 and Switch. That is a really good game if you've never played it, and it's been lost on GBA for just too long. Glover is also out this week. I'll be checking that out. I love me some Glover. And Age of Mythology is making its way to PlayStation this week, which is still funny to me. Oh, somebody just played some basketball.
It's my chair squeaky.
Oh, some shoes. Some shoes squeaky.
Going for the 3-pointer crossover. Yeah.
There's a list of Backaroo on here for the Switch this week, Anthony. Is that a physical version, maybe? He's gone.
Yeah, he's playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's fine.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was still muted or not. I meant not to be. I guess so. I know that there was an English version coming out on physical, but I have a Japanese copy physically, so I didn't think I needed it.
Yeah, it looks like they're releasing a physical in the US, according to this.
Okay.
Ryan...
I didn't know when the release date was. It could have been last year, so I just didn't know.
Ryan's fifth entry in his favorite franchise, Hentai Waifu 5, is out this week on the Switch.
I've been waiting for that. They left the fourth one off on a cliffhanger, so...
Yeah. truly a culmination. The fifth entry.
Oh, Jesus Christ! There's so many Switch games. Like I read these, and I feel like you could just made them up, and that'd been just
throw
about.
charts at a fucking board with the names, and then just combine those names in any order.
I remember when Nintendo used to have the highest seal of quality in terms of games they would be willing to put on their systems, and now it's like nearly as bad as Steam.
There's a game
And I don't
coming
know what
out
happened.
for Switch this week. It's just
I remember
the body
when
cam
they
shooter.
wouldn't let Retro City Rampage on their console because it was a single dev project, so you had to have an office and stuff like that.
I think I remember that controversy. That was ages ago, but yeah.
Yeah, and so now here's fucking Nintendo just letting any Joe Schmo put shit, literal shit, on their fucking platform.
Literal.
Yeah, I mean, it makes them money, right? So, guess they don't care.
All right.
Is it? Like, is anybody actually buying this?
Nobody's buying this shit. I'm sorry. Nobody's buying this shit.
Well, think about it. Like, doesn't the developer / like publisher have to like pay money or something like that to be on the platform to begin with? And then they take a cut of royalty.
They take a cut if it sells, but I don't think you have to pay to be on there.
I think it depends on the platform. But even if one copy sold, Nintendo made money. So who cares?
Yeah, I guess. All right, that's yeah. It's kind of a light week outside of Monster. I think Monster Hunter is like the big game this week for sure. So. New Game Pass games. We'll switch over to the news. We got Avowed, obviously, is out. EA Sports F1 24, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, and Watch Dogs Legion.
I heard a lot of good things about Rogue Trader.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play that, so I'm glad to hear it's on Game Pass.
What is it? Is it like a strategy?
It's like
game?
Baldur's Gate 3, but Warhammer.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Microsoft announced Muse, which is a generative AI model for gameplay. Apparently, they use Bleeding Edge as an example. Like maybe try something better.
What did they even mean? Like AI for gameplay?
What does that mean? The only interesting thing that came out of this for me was that when Phil Spencer said like there's so many games stuck on platforms. Like this could like bring them to work on new platforms. That's the only part of this that interested me. If you're gonna make games with this and like just put them on your platform, like fuck off. I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, there's already a huge amount of a lot of these indie like acid flip games that are using AI generated like images, images, music, and other stuff. And it's like a fucking plague on the Steam like game market. You can look at a thumbnail and it's like, yep, that's completely AI generated. And 9 out of 10 times, well, like 99 out of 100 times, they're like worthless. They have no artistic merit. It purely exists to generate money for the developers who have spent the least amount of effort possible. And I don't know. I really don't want the gaming market to go that direction in terms of like initiating and utilizing more AI, into their development process. I think
bad news for you.
Yeah, this shit's going on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think AI is good for things like upscaling to get like better performance out of games.
Mm-hmm.
I think those kind of things can also work on consoles, not just on PC, right? So you might be able to get some higher fidelity in games and hardly notice any difference, which I think is great. But man, AI can never replace the creativity of human beings, So I don't want it to encroach upon the artistry of the medium that we all so enjoy.
I don't even understand, like, you talk about all these asset flip games and AI generated games, and it's like, they don't fucking sell. Like, what is the...
Well,
it's not about...
Yeah, go ahead.
It's about not paying people.
Yes,
that's
precisely.
the goal.
No, I understand that aspect from like big companies, but I'm talking about like these little indie games that spin this shit up. Like, who the fuck cares? Nobody's buying your game anyway.
There's no cost involved in making something, so they're hoping a lot of the AI slop uses the mockbuster idea, right? Oh, I'm gonna get the buzzwords of a bigger game, so you buy this piece of shit.
I think there's like 20 different AI copies of the Wukong game in the marketplace.
It's about tricking undereducated folks into trying to buy something too.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. I saw a story. I don't know if it's in this news that Sony's like cracking down on that. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
Shit off the store. Shuhei Yoshida has been doing some interview rounds, and he did a big one that was locked behind Patreon for Colin Moriarty's podcast. But a lot of people paid to deliver us the news. The first one is another Fuck Jim Ryan post where Shuhei said he had no choice, but he had to take the indie role at Sony because the only other choice would have been get the fuck out. And
that's the part I don't understand. I thought Shuhei was kind of looked favorably upon by like Sony, and also especially by a lot of the fans. I think they really like his like approachable personality and stuff like that. He seems like an actual real person instead of a PR mouthpiece, you know.
Yeah,
so.
but it was Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan sucked.
Yeah, Jim Ryan fucking almost killed PlayStation. Like
PlayStation made so much money during Jim
They
Ryan's
made a
time,
ton of money, but he also sunk, 7 years and hundreds of millions of dollars into games they fucking canceled?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's gotta take a hit at some point.
Jim Ryan didn't do anything. He just coasted off of the last person. Like, all the successes that Jim Ryan was there for were in the works before Jim Ryan took that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. It's kind of like the fucking presidency, right?
Yeah.
He said...
not that stands anymore.
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Anyway, we're going to get into that. He also said Japan Studios was closed because the AA market disappeared. Most of the IPs that Japan Studio had were in that smaller AA size group, and the market became really difficult for these kinds of games.
Because you made it that way.
Yeah, there's no secret that like Sony's big budget, like over-the-shoulder stealth games, like cost so much money and created so much like expectation that people just didn't want to buy anything if it wasn't that. It's crazy.
Like, but it's not just Sony. It's Microsoft too.
Yeah, but Microsoft didn't actually make any games.
Well, very true. But like, even when they were, it was just like you're not. Everything it's a Ubisoft. The Ubisoft problem of everything kind of feels the same.
Yeah,
it's great if you love that, but you drive up to towers to unlock the map in the Crew. Like, it started as a joke, but it was a real thing, right? You had to do towers in the Crew to unlock the goddamn fucking map. Like, they had one design philosophy, and it's like, and it was the AA market on the PS2 that I think carried that system. Like,
I mean, maybe, but I think a lot of what carried PlayStation 2 was a little game called Grand Theft Auto 3.
Well, that wasn't theirs, though.
No, but it carried that platform.
It was exclusive, but yeah, it's true.
To your point, though, Anthony, where a lot of the stuff that ended up in AAA games later in the generation came from AA games early in the generation.
Mm-hmm.
That is
for
also
PlayStation
true.
2 specifically.
Yeah.
He also says, this is a funny one, From Software didn't want Sony to publish Dark Souls after how PlayStation treated Demon's Souls.
Yep,
wow.
I heard about that in terms of like the treatment. They sent it out to the person to review Demon's Souls. The person involved in Sony's side was not impressed at all with the game, and then felt that it was going to just be a failure in terms of the market. So they just kind of put it out there with as little fanfare as possible, and then it just kind of became a cult hit. And then when Dark Souls came out, then the widespread fame and fortune came in.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I will say, as someone who reviewed Demon's Souls before it was commercially available, I had no idea what the fuck I was getting into when I first booted that game.
Nobody did.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And so I'm confident that was probably the case for the for whoever was looking at it at Sony too.
Oh, 100%. Like, if you showed me that and I'd never seen it before and I started playing, I was like, what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Now, it was visually arresting. Like, it was, I remember being kind of blown away by the way it looked. And obviously I really enjoyed the game, but when I first booted it up, it was like, it was a whole different world.
Do you remember what you end up giving the game, Ryan?
9.5, I think.
9.5. Wow, that's crazy. So you
Yeah,
were
really
kind of a
enjoyed it.
trendsetter. Yeah, you're a trendsetter, man.
Yeah, that was a
'Cause
silver
that game
job.
did not review that well. Yeah.
Sony didn't even give a shit to get the right console on the fucking disc.
Yeah, now I gotta look and see what I gave it.
I don't even know if
The,
that score is still there.
My disc does say PlayStation 2 on it, even though it's a PlayStation 3 game.
Yeah.
Nintendo announced that starting March 25th, they're discontinuing the Gold Points program. Gold Points will still be valid for another 12 months. That sucks. Konami, starting March 26th, Konami will raise the base salary for all of its Japanese employees by 5,000 yen, which is $33.
Hey, it's something. And by the way, I misspoke. I misremembered. The original Demon Souls actually reviewed very well at 89 points. My mistake. I thought I remember it being like in the 70s. I can think of something else.
I think there was a wider margin though.
Oh.
I
I
think
imagine
the minimum
yeah.
was taken down because
I can't even look because it's the review is so old that the scores aren't on the system anymore.
Yeah. When we switched over, it didn't carry the scores.
Hold on, let me find us on Metacritic here.
92.
Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So very close.
What else we got here? Rockstar's reportedly in talks with Fortnite and Roblox creators for user-generated content in GTA 6.
Oh, and if they actually pay them?
No, they ain't gonna pay them. That's stupid.
No, I mean, listen, you don't even have to pay them that much. Just pay them. That's better than what they're getting on their other platforms.
That's
Jesus.
true. Ubisoft announced a Rainbow Siege X showcase for March 13th. Okay.
Dude, my son and his friends play Rainbow Six Siege almost every day.
Sure, I don't doubt that game is very popular, but do we need a...
What if we added towers to it?
Yeah, what if we did? GameStop announced plans to sell its Canadian and French operations. GameStop closed all of its stores in Germany earlier this year. Huh, it's crazy.
And then he had the nerve to be like, it's because of wokeness. No, motherfucker, it's because your shops have sucked and you only exist because some idiots on the internet made you a meme stock during COVID.
What is...
Yeah.
The fuck is... What's woke about a disc? What?
He's an asshole. He's a useless fail son. That's the position this guy is in. He hasn't turned around this company. A bunch of idiots think he's Jesus of stocks.
Jesus?
I can't wait for those people to be disproven, but that won't matter because they're stupid.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, sometimes I very, very rarely go to the mall or something like that, right? And then I would just stop by a GameStop or whatever, just to see, what they're doing with the store and stuff. 50% of their stock is Funko Pops and other miscellaneous shit nowadays. Yeah. Compared to the old games, the used games where I would go for a little bit of treasure hunting to see if I can get a rare copy of a game that I've wanted in the past or something that is hard to find in general, right? That's one of the main reasons I used to go. And then most of that is just gone. and replaced by all these toys and shit.
Now.
Yeah, and it bums me out because that's one of the best parts of going into a GameStop, not knowing what you might be able to find there. But now all you're seeing is not gaming garbage. Taking up half of the store, and then everything else is just pre-order now, and all this other shit. So it's no wonder why people don't want to go into that store anymore,
Well, they got rid of most. So one of the stupidest things that they did, and I realized Xbox was moving more digital anyway, so they were losing retail space everywhere. All these people, Walmart did the same thing. They don't have a ton of shelf space because they got rid of all their big glass cabinets, and now they stand maybe 3-4 feet off the ground. They're not very tall. Anyways, they moved in all these PS5 stuff. There's still stuff being released on PS4. I get it. you want your market to be PS5, but like it's not there. Especially when half the consoles sold are probably digital only at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. Like, I get it. I'm part of the problem. I'm buying mostly digital games nowadays myself, outside of some like very like nice looking like special editions of stuff, right? But at the same time, there's a certain like novelty to actually going to a place and picking up a physical thing. It's like the same thing that I do with like a bookstore.
But it's
I
not
go to a
your fault.
bookstore, I browse a couple of books, I see, I read the first couple of pages and see which one. And then there's like a good experience to that. Kind of like going into a game store, seeing what's out, like not really thinking about what you wanted and just kind of walking away. I think there is a charm to that still endures, but I don't know how they're ever going to recover in the age of the digital market.
They're not.
It's part of the issue. So there's another. I know that like they used to exist in the States too. Microplay. It's an Ontario company. I think there's some in Quebec as well. It's a very small chain of game stores. They bring in imports. They bring in physical imports of games too because they know that their audience might want that. They carry classic games. They didn't get rid of their Xbox 360 stuff because suddenly it was just not worth it for them to keep anymore. Like, all GameStop has done is treat this as just product and not realize gamers are weird about stuff. Like, they don't like to see games just thrown out and have piecemealed and like, oh, just throw out the book in the case. Nobody gives a shit. It's
an enthusiast medium. At the core, right? Just like comic books are, just like Warcraft minis, or Warhammer, minis. It's like it's got an enthusiast audience, and the problem is as the genre got more mainstream, they catered the stores towards the mainstream versus the enthusiasts, and now that the enthusiasts would be the only ones left trying to buy stuff at their store, they don't have anything for them.
Yep.
Sounds right.
And I bring it up again. I know I brought it up the last time because when the PlayStation Network was out, they said, "Don't you wish you had your physical games now?" Like, they still need to go online, first of all, for all the new stuff. Most of the time they didn't update. So thanks for coming out. And B, you fucking sold all of your old shit to me for like pennies. You stupid idiots! Like, I own your fucking merchandise because you. Yeah, well, they don't make those in the Canada and soon the States. But they were $2 a piece for a disc. I bought the entire Killzone trilogy for $2.
A toonie.
For a toonie.
Mm-hmm. For a toonie. Less than a coffee at this point.
All right.
Like,
we have 2 showcases today / tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this. Annapurna Interactive Showcase at 9 a.m. and then also the ID at Xbox Showcase. I think they're back to back. So
you're saying we'll have the Sing Song release date?
No, it's not Sing Song.
I said Silk Song.
Oh, I thought you said Sing Song.
You sounded like Sing Song.
Yeah, it sounded like Sing Song.
Make fun of the non-American, not Native Americans accent. Why don't you? Come on.
I don't have a Native American accent. What are you talking about?
No, it's fine because you're never getting Sing Song or Silk Song.
No, you're not getting either ones.
I could get SingStar though, right? There's
plenty of those. GameStop's got tons of them. Go get one.
Nice.
No, they threw those all out with the microphone.
So you know that phrase where there's smoke, there's fire. So Tyshawn Jones, who's a pro skater.
I don't know. Explain.
No. He's a pro skater. He was on the Breakfast Club podcast. He said he's in a new Tony Hawk remaster, and then all of a sudden, a countdown went live that says on March 4th, there's something in Tony Hawk happening. And it's being made by Iron Galaxy?
It's going to explode the sun.
It's being made by Iron Galaxy. It's got to be 3 and 4, right? It's got to be. It even had the colors.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they're announcing it on 3/4.
Exactly.
So, feels like
I don't know how I feel about this, only because it's Iron Galaxy now. I don't hate Iron Galaxy by any means. It was just like the first one was Vicarious Visions.
I bet
know
you they're
that
helping.
exist. I would hope that Microsoft
Because this is a Microsoft
pulled that
product,
team.
which is crazy in my brain, that Microsoft now owns the Tony Hawk IP.
Well, that's what happens when... I mean, they also own Spyro and Crash. All the stuff that Sony should have tried to lock down as much as possible.
It's now under a Microsoft umbrella. Fucking
Yep.
wild, dude.
Same with Nintendo stuff. The depository for forgotten IP or
Yeah.
overlooked IP.
Hey, you want another limited run story of breaking your shit? Let's go.
Yeah.
Limited Run has told its customers that 2 of its NES cartridges, Rugrats Adventures in Gameland and Pio Pal, whatever the fuck that is,
Yeah, I don't know.
could damage their consoles because the cartridges have a problem with voltage regulation.
Awesome. This is why you need a Nintendo Seal of quality.
Oh, shit.
I just don't know why anybody gives them money. I mean, at this point, they're not even... They're just a publisher at this point. They're not even a boutique publisher. They just publish games.
Bodicue.
When Ubisoft comes to you and is like, hey, we don't want to publish Scott Pilgrim, you do it.
You do
What the
it.
fuck are we doing?
All right.
Ubisoft product. That fucking drives me nuts, that whole company.
We already mentioned it, but Split Fiction is crossplay, and the Friend Pass Works crossplay, which is pretty cool.
It is super cool.
GTA 5 is getting a free PC upgrade on March 4th that adds all the current-gen console features and more.
That's
Also
cool.
And Saber Interactive is working on a new game based on a tentpole Hasbro IP, which this
We should
caused
go back
a
for a second
argument.
before we start.
Yeah, what's
before
up?
we start thinking about Hasbro IP. What's nice about the GTA thing is that they also are making sure it doesn't fuck up people who won't be able to take advantage of.
That's good.
Yeah, they purposely said, like, you will still be able to play the old version.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Hasbro
Alright,
IP
the Hasbro.
caused a lot of conversation in the Discord about,
Sure did.
like, what's
Transformers,
considered a
right?
tentpole IP.
I was
gotta be
surprised they
Transformers.
were making a game about a giant boner.
Oh, here we go. That's not the conversation that sparked, though.
Yeah, it was a strong pitch in the boardroom.
Fucking hell. We just, like, we writing our comedy now before we do the show?
Yeah, it's called workshopping, Tim. No, I know Terrence and I are both hopeful that it's something in the Dritz universe, but I think more realistically, it's not.
I feel like it's Saber Interactive.
It's
It's
the Dritz universe. It's the Forgotten
What'd you say?
Realms, and which
who?
who did you say that?
What did you say? Sorry, Anthony.
Oh, first of all, it's not the Dritz universe. It's the Forgotten Realms. which is
Well,
part of
so I
the-
know he's a part of the Forgotten Realms, but I don't want a Forgotten Realms game. I want a game
too bad.
specifically around Dritz and the companions.
But like I said, I think you'd have Wizards of the Coast named
Rather than Hasbro.
than Hasbro because yes, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. It is still its own entity to some extent.
You know what? They gonna fuck
D&D
all of us. It's
Magic.
gonna be some like Hello Kitty shit or something.
Mask. Well, no, they don't have Hello Kitty.
You know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. Some shit you don't
Um,
care about,
Mask.
dude. Nobody cares. That's not tentpole. That wasn't tentpole when it was out.
It's that, but you said disappoint. I said Mask.
No, I mean disappoint is in that you're not going to care about what it is.
I just said Mask.
I would care about Mask if they came out with a Mask
I
game.
mean, I
Not
would
Mask.
be interested in
God
what the
damn it.
fuck but like, it's. I'm assuming it's Transformers or GI Joe.
It's
And I'm gonna
Saber,
assume
so I'm
Transformers.
assuming it's an action game. So
Yeah, I mean, both of those fit.
let's hope it's a
Bill.
sequel to that. What was that Dungeons and Dragons game that came out a little while back?
Dark
Baldur's
Alliance,
Gate?
that
No,
game.
no,
Or
that
Dark Alliance? Yeah,
that really shitty co-op one.
yeah,
Dark
Dark Alliance.
Yeah, that was not. Was it
Which
really
was a
just
Dritz
called
game,
Dark Alliance?
unfortunately. Yes, it was
Yes,
just called
because-
Dark Alliance.
because they wanted to.
So that was the
Ruined
Dritz game that we got, of course.
Well, that's all you get.
Okay. So I've looked up. Oh no! Here's some disappointing things. I've looked up some Hasbro franchises. Now, it does include on Wikipedia Dungeons and Dragons because obviously they own Wizards, but Magic would be under there too.
Who is the drizzle?
Clue.
Okay.
G.I. Joe.
Obviously.
I'm really hoping for this one, Mr. Potato Head.
No.
Battleship. Does Hasbro own Battleship?
Probably.
No, surprisingly not, but they own Monopoly.
Oh, that
fuck
might be
yeah.
They
Mattel.
own Battleship.
Huh?
I don't know if maybe it says it's not. Maybe because it's not a franchise.
That might be Mattel, actually. I don't remember.
Well, I think it was Hasbro at one
Is
point.
Mattel still a thing? It's still a thing?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah, aren't they Barbie? Doesn't Mattel own Barbie?
I don't fucking know.
Mattel owns Barbie and Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Barbie owned you.
Well, Barbie owned the box office a couple years ago. So.
Yeah. Barbenheimer.
Nerf. Peppa Pig.
There it is.
It's a Peppa Pig game.
Yep.
It's a Peppa Pig horror game.
I forgot
yeah,
they own Power Rangers now too.
We just got a Power
man. Peppa Pig stock is up, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I still think it's Transformers. I think that's the biggest appeal of all of them. So.
Oh, all right, moving on. Last of Us Season 2 premieres April 13th on Max.
Very nice.
Okay.
Love the first season.
Kitao Sakurai will direct Capcom and Legendary's upcoming Street Fighter film. All right.
Wait, the Street Fighter film?
Yeah, there's a Street Fighter film.
Yeah, they're making a new Street Fighter film.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about this. So, one of the craziest things that got tweeted or news story that came out this week was NetEase laid off the Marvel Rivals director and his team in the West. Said they laid off the U.S. Marvel Rivals team because they want to optimize development efficiency. There's also a rumor floating around that NetEase is reportedly getting rid of its gaming investments overseas due to high costs and other reasons.
Sure.
That's a thing?
Yep. Turns out, even if you make a successful game, it doesn't matter anymore.
This has got to be a regional thing, right?
No, I think this is a full-on capitalism. Also, God knows if it has anything to do with politics right now.
Well, there's that, obviously, but like, I don't know, I just feel like it's just a regional thing of like we want to keep everything in China to keep it cheaper. Kind of deal.
I think that's definitely a big part of it.
But at the same time, when they're raking in $2.9 billion in net revenue in a course of 3 months, does
it's not enough.
rocking the boat really make sense?
It's not enough.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're that profitable, you're that successful, do you want to change what you've got going on right now? Is it not the time to become concrete, like give people raises so they want to stick around longer so that they can get the money printing machine going as long as they want, It doesn't, I just don't understand it. It must be some executive level nonsense that they're looking at, It makes sense in the paper of numbers, but when you look at it logically from like a business standpoint, it does not make any kind of sense at all,
Well,
like
I don't know.
difficult situation.
I don't know how many hundreds of years ago the original story about the goose that laid golden eggs was written, but it's amazing that it stays relevant.
Yes,
with
absolutely.
every passing year.
Thousands of years ago. I'm channeling the Ghost of Christmas Past. From Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
It is an Aesop fable, so you know it's fucking ancient.
Yeah. And it continues to bear fruit in 2025.
Aesop was a slave and storyteller who lived in ancient Greece between 620 and 564 BCE.
Dude, that was just like yesterday. What are you talking about?
Goat.
Alright, wrap up a few things. Digital Eclipse announced that their Gold Master Series games are getting physical editions for Switch and PS5. Fuck you, Xbox users. What's we got here? Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 is coming to Xbox and PlayStation. It's already out on Switch and PC. Mouthwashing is coming to consoles. So
I've heard a lot of really good things about that. Have any of you guys played it?
I haven't played it, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it.
It's not my
That's what I'm
style.
saying. Yeah.
I played the intro.
Okay.
Well, it's like
I heard it's not a
survival-
long game.
It's like a survival horror game, right?
It's supposed
It was
more like a narrative game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you make choices and things happen kind of deal. I hear you can beat it in like 3 hours. I kind of want to make it like a weekend, like a weekend afternoon out of it or something like that. Sounds good.
I really like the art design in it.
Yeah, me too.
The Thing Remastered is also getting a physical on Switch and PS5. Once again, fuck you, Xbox users. Samurai Pizza Cat's Blast from the Past was announced for 2026.
Blast from the Past is right. Jesus.
It looks like Mystical Ninja for the Super Nintendo. Obviously, it looks better than that, but it looks like it plays the same way.
Dude, there's so much crap that's like the Care Bears to the Rescue is coming out on March 6th.
Yeah, but does it play like Mystical Ninja?
Oh, it's already out. It's out on Switch and PC.
I have no
already.
nostalgia for.
Care Bears, really?
No.
Oh, that's
Care
way
Bears,
before your
yes.
time. Yeah.
Care Bears, yes, but Samurai Pizza Cats, no. And I'll still play that fucking game.
How old were you when that show came out?
I just don't think it was even on in repeats.
I was gonna say that was like around right after TMNT, right?
Oh yeah, no, it was before. It was literally. It ended like a full year before I was born.
Holy shit, Anthony!
Fucking well.
You fucking
And,
child.
it lasted a year, February 1st, 1990 to February 12th, 1991. Episodes.
That doesn't
No
mean
repeat.
shit to me anymore because if you go back and look at some of the classic cartoons, most of them didn't go like Voltron is literally one season for each style.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like it never got like reruns later either.
There were so many. Like, I bet you if you look up what is it, Street Sharks, that probably ran for like what
I love
half a
Street
year.
Sharks.
Like Transformers is one of the biggest cartoons of all time, and it literally only ran 4 seasons.
And meanwhile, Simpsons is still running.
Yes.
Street Sharks,
Yeah.
wow! Street Sharks had 40 episodes.
I mean, that's standard
and
for a cartoon.
Goddamn
though.
seasons. 3 goddamn seasons, but it was Deke. So that's yeah.
What's crazy is they spread 40 episodes over 3 seasons. Isn't the first Transformers season like 50-something episodes or something?
Yeah, they wanted to get to syndication as fast as possible.
Jesus Christ. I go
Also,
back and look at those old shows, and it's like,
you-
season 1 is 77 episodes. Like, holy shit.
Who got his start pitching Street Shark toys? You know?
It's
I do
Paul
not know.
Rudd
No.
or Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's the one.
It's Vin Diesel.
Yeah. I had to think about it for a second. Paul Rudd did one of those, and then Vin Diesel did, yeah.
Paul Rudd was a Super Nintendo commercial, I believe.
Yeah, but he also did a commercial for some toy. back then, too.
Jack Black did a game commercial, Super Pitfall, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, back when he was like thinner with blonde hair or whatever. Yeah.
He was a child.
Mm-hmm. Cowboy Bebop is coming to Fortnite. You ever
Okay.
see anything like be so huge and it literally is what, like 10 episodes? Well, that's crazy. to
And the movie. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
me. Yeah.
I know what you mean. But at the same time, am I glad they never made a sequel to that series because it's perfect the way it ended.
Yeah,
So I'm glad.
it's like, that is a perfect encapsulation of that series. 10 episodes in a
It's
movie.
also every
Yeah.
time they try to do anything with it, it fails.
That Overwatch collaboration was pretty fucking cool. I ain't gonna lie.
Live action, bump, 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 bump.
I enjoyed that show. It's not great, but it's fine.
Comic adaptation of the live action. Bump, 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 bump.
I don't know. I like John Cho though.
I do too.
Tales of the Shire was delayed till the 29th of July.
Oh no! Oh no! Weird.
Oh no.
Oh no. It's funny. You don't even watch Family Guy. You know that joke. Oh no.
I used to watch Family Guy.
Oh, okay. How do you not love Bruce?
Oh no.
It is his boyfriend, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Okay, I'm going to Twitter. DJ
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it was you going to Twitter. I was actually apologizing.
I have to answer the questions that people send in. DJ Mitsuharu says, hello from Tokyo. I start my new job on Tuesday. Monday is a national holiday. On an exciting, unannounced new project. Although I had to leave my family behind, a huge sacrifice for me, but hopefully it'll be worth it. Let's go. By the way, he's a game developer, so.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Congrats.
man. Whatever you're making, let us know.
Make sure to send us a picture of the Yakuza back tattoo that you get. Because you're in Japan.
Oh, he lives in Japan. He's lived there for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, but he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I know.
Yeah, he's traveling over to Tokyo, I guess, to work on it.
Well, again, send us a picture of your back tattoo that you clearly already have.
No, that man literally does like 3 a.m.
Hey.
motorcycle rides with like the helmet and all that shit. Like I've seen his pictures. Like he literally does that through like the streets of Japan.
Oh, fuck.
Nice.
I was watching last night, I had it running while I was doing something else. Somebody walking through Japan while it's storming out, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the neon area. It was just like an alleyway. People are sitting having like dinner, and it's just open because it's warm, obviously. Oh, it was just this wonderful. A bunch of people walking out in the rain with umbrellas. You just don't see people walk out in the rain here.
No, because they get their phones wet. They freak out.
And then I don't know, the whole walkable city concept is something that I wish we fucking had. Good lord.
Jeremy says he sent us a GIF. Said hello neighbor. He said GIFs are a great podcasting material. Haha, sup gents. I haven't heard a lot of buzz around Crimson Desert, but I think the game is looking to be my most anticipated this year. Definitely has
That's
some.
an MMO, right?
Yeah, kinda. Definitely has some fantasy ARPG-ness to it with some Zelda Breath of the Wild. Anyone have this on their radar? It's from the guys that do isn't there another Crimson MMO game?
Black Desert?
Black Desert, that's the one I'm thinking of.
They have some cool trailers that, like very high quality CG trailers. They, I think, showed like multiple of them, I think.
Isn't that the same company
That's
that's
all I've seen. Yeah.
Isn't it the same company that's doing the like creepy like Sid the Science Kid looking video game? Remember with the creepy little people with the regular people? What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Does nobody remember this? It was in a Keeley show, and like these little characters like skateboarding through the world, like it's an open world.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh my god!
I believe you, but I don't remember it at all.
I gotta
You're talking the one that kind of looks like Pokemon.
Kind of, except they literally look like Sid the Science Kid.
Doki
I don't know who Sid the Science Kid is.
I think you had it. What was it? Doki.
I think it's Doki V.
Yeah. That's
it.
it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, okay.
That's the same developer, right? Pearl Abyss.
Yeah,
correct. They're the makers of the Black Desert game, which went on forever.
Yeah, Black Desert Online, Crimson Desert,
Pearl Abyss, Doki V. Yeah. Oh yeah. This. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say Sid the Science Kid, I don't know who you're talking about. I googled it. And now I want to unknow this. I think you've mentioned it before.
We have talked about Sid the Science Kid before and how incredibly creepy
it is.
Okay,
well, all right. Well, my brain did the best job of fucking making sure I didn't remember. This is a nightmare.
That's good. Yeah, it's a nightmare. That's exactly the way to put it.
Okay, but I have to
just watch it in motion.
Sorry?
Watch it in motion. It's even more of a nightmare.
Oh, no, I remember this now. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta.
It looks like a kid, like a
you
child.
You gotta get the dancing. You gotta get the dancing gif, right?
Yeah.
No, I found the Gerald and Sid can't find who asked.
Oh, here we go. Here's the one. There you go.
Terror show.
What the fuck were we doing as kids?
All I'm gonna say is, I would like someone to see if you can time, Not Like Us to Sid the Science Kid dance.
I bet you could.
Oh, you absolutely
I
could.
bet you could.
Yeah.
All right, last tweet comes from Perfect E. Says, "What a guan, what a guan. Hope all is well. I'm on my second playthrough of Avowed and loving every minute. Jesus.
Wow, second playthrough.
Ken, I agree with your review. You were spot on. I like that game a lot. It'll probably be in my consideration in my head towards the end of the year because I had a lot of fun with it, but I don't know if it'll make the list. I guess it depends on what Nintendo delivers this year because my list could totally be dominated by them.
Ryan actively hates it, so he expects it on his Game of the Year list.
He's gonna, as the Game of the Year conversation comes around.
When the honorary Dragon Age Veil card.
Ryan's like, I'm gonna talk about Avowed for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna shit on it entirely. Number 7.
I'm allowed to
IGN
criticize games that I don't like or that I like.
Yeah, but you got to say something nice about them too.
Well, I've said plenty of nice things about Dragon Age.
Oh shit!
You know, it's really good. 40 minutes about how the named loot is awful.
Well, that is true. The named loot
I
is
mean,
awful.
That being said, that has not that I've ever been a Dragon Age guy, but that would piss me off too. So
yeah, the named loot
worked really hard.
That
Here's a tool you'll never use. Oh, gee, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah,
Glad I worked for this. Awful. Oh, anyway, that's it. But that's a lot. That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I hope you're ready for all that in your ear holes.
I swear to God, if Terrence is like, "You still doing the podcast?"
Dude.
Oh, he's typing right now. You just summoned him.
He's seeing all the Sid the Science Kid stuff. He's like,
hey, cut the clip before he goes in. Come on, cut it.
Oh, he says he hoped that Ryan cussed him out because he called him an edgelord.
You didn't even see my edgelord's commentary about your boy Dritz.
Oh, is that who that is? I don't know what he looks like, so.
I had to Google it. That's why.
You know what that looks like? You want to know 100% what that looks like? That looks like a poster you'd see in like Spencer fucking Gifts.
Yes, but
glows under a black light and some shit.
He's not really an edgelord. He's not.
Okay. I just said he just looks like one. I mean, just look at the picture. Though. Can you deny it? Right?
Yeah.
That's sort of a dark. Yeah. That's sort of a drow, dark elf sort of vibe.
Yeah. The drow are most drow are edgelords. He's like the exception.
Okay. Fair enough.
These are all words. I agree.
That's actually the defining piece of his character is the fact that he's not like
he's not a bitch. Despite looking like one and his race being one, he's not one, and that's the defining characteristic. Yeah. Okay,
all right.
Understood.
Well, we cleared that up. We're good.
Anthony, now every time I look at this Sid the Science Kid gif, I'm gonna be thinking of Not Like Us behind it.
I mean, it's out there in the universe now. Anyway,
my friend.
That is it for the show this week. If you want to tweet at us or skeet at us or whatever the fuck they call it, it's at ZTGD Radio on Twitter and Blue Sky. Or you can just email us, podcast, ztgd.com. I was trying to think if there's any embargoes up next week. I can't remember any, but Terrence should be back to talk about Pirate Yakuza.
Well, that's good.
Oh, I think he's also playing 2 Point Museum, so that should be up next week, too. I think. I don't fucking know. It feels like Christmas right now with all these embargoes and games, man. It's crazy.
This 2025 is off to a great start.
So far?
In terms
Absolutely.
of gaming, yeah.
We'll see.
I personally don't know if there's another anticipated game enough to make me come onto the show to talk about it. So this will probably be my last appearance till like next year.
Game of the year.
We'll talk about Game of the Year. Yeah.
You know that's not true because
what's coming out?
I don't know if you know this, but Nintendo's launching a platform this year.
Shit, you're right.
Like,
okay,
there's probably going to be a game or two to talk about there.
Yeah, that whole new Switch actually is big enough news for me to want to actually talk about it. So you're right, Ken. I might be back
They say potentially around June might be the
I heard the
which
most
they read.
recent rumor
Yeah.
was that June was the release date. We'll know in April, I guess, which is when we started this show, I was like, I had to check. This is the last show in February. We're already going to be in March in the next show, which is fucking crazy to me.
Next 3 years, the next 3.5 years will just fly by.
Anthony, it's more than 3.5. I've got a countdown on my desktop.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea. It's only been a month and a half.
I'm fucking...
Yeah, well.
Wow.
Yes,
way to ruin this fucking show.
Stupid ass bitch.
Anyway,
to shit.
We're gonna go. Turtle.
Surprised wasn't pardoned on fucking Thanksgiving with that waddle ass neck.
Alrighty then. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Peace, bitches.
Alrighty, and it goes something like this.